What's up, everybody, and welcome to GameFace, episode 426 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, the founder of Sifted, and your co-host for the next couple hours of awesome video game discussion. As always, alongside me to partake in that, it's Matthew Keil. What's up, Matt?
Hey.
Yeah? Did you have a good week?
It was all right.
I did taxes this week, which means it sucked.
I probably should have. But,
taxes, if you own a business, it's you dread it. I literally start dreading doing taxes as soon as Christmas is over.
Well, the good thing for me is my production company doesn't make any money.
You don't have to do anything.
It's pretty simple.
You just fill in what it lost and like... That's sad, actually, but that's the truth of the matter.
I mean, it's literally, a production company LLC is literally just a barrier between you and the business.
Well, it just protects you from getting personally sued by anything that might happen with your business, basically. And in the meantime, in California, you have to pay $800 a year just for that privilege, where in most states, it's free to run an LLC. But that's California in a nutshell. Things that are free in a lot of other places, you end up paying at least a little bit for here.
There's an argument I should have based them in Delaware or something, but like
you can't do that anymore. Actually, I tried when I launched Sifted to set it up in Delaware. I tried there because you can save so much money that it's worth it, the hassle. And then it wouldn't work there, so then I tried Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, they have little businesses set up where they just buy like an office park. And they just have a bunch of phones set up in there, and you can use that as your business address to set up an LLC for free in Las Vegas. But they've also started cracking down on that. If you live in California, they know that a lot of Californians do that, and now they like have a line with Nevada to make sure Californians aren't shirking like the annual LLC fee or whatever. It's crazy. But anyway, as soon as the year turns over, I'm like, oh no, I got to start doing taxes. Because it's like, you have to keep receipts for everything. You have to get them all and add them all up and categorize them. And then you have to sit down with your accountant. Anyway, hopefully you guys are already done with all your taxes. It's like the worst time of the year. Literally the worst. And the crappy part for me is that my week is already so busy that adding on tax stuff on top of anything just makes my week a nightmare. So I did get through it. It's all done. And now it's blue skies ahead, at least I hope. But yeah, that's what my whole week was, just getting taxes done. Did you get your tax form from my accountant, by the way?
I did.
Oh, good.
I did.
That's what I'd like to hear. So anyway.
It was supposed to go out before the 31st of January. You might want to tell him that.
Yeah. When did you get it?
This week.
This week? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's them. He did tell me, though, he's like, we are overrun. He's like, we have more customers than we can ever service. He's like, we have to turn people away. He's like, you have been with us for like 10 years. He's like, you always just automatically get your appointment. He's like, we aren't accepting any new people, and we're completely... I did my taxes on Sunday. Like, they're working 7 days a week, like 14 hours a day. So my guess is they're just backlogged. It took them a while to send it out.
Well, don't worry. The IRS will be dissolved soon.
It won't matter. Do you have to pay taxes anymore at all?
Only at the grocery store.
You have to check your ID at the grocery store to buy groceries, Matt. You forget? Remember, you got to check your ID to get groceries? So anyway, hopefully you guys are having a good week. Let's actually check in with you guys. We don't have a ton of housekeeping today. See what you guys are saying. 2 things. I subbed at the end of your last show, but you missed it before going offline. Okay, thank you, Retro Modern Gamer, for Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. Also, there was just breaking news before you came online. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Game Informer stuff. Thank you, though, for trying to help us out with the story. And that's always huge for us, is if you guys see stories that have, like, broke in the last, like, hour or whatever, letting us know in chat is awesome, so we can discuss it. But we're already on the Game Informer stuff. We already got that into the show. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Let's thank some other people for Twitch Prime.
Someone in there did point out, it's like, you have to pay taxes aren't automatic in the U.S.? No, they are not. The IRS calculates how much tax you owe, and then you have to calculate how much tax you owe, and then you can say to the IRS, well, if you already know how much I owe you, why don't you just tell me? It's like, no, you have to guess.
Yeah.
And then if you're wrong, you are going to ruin your life.
If you're wrong, you may get audited, and they have to pay fines for the amount of time that you had the money. It's ridiculous. They tried... The last administration tried to set up the IRS so you could literally just go to irs.gov and just type in a few things into your taxes. That's all wiped away now.
They wiped that out.
They wiped that out. They also fired all the people that were hired to find fraud. All the IRS employees that were hired, like 80,000 employees.
Gee, I wonder what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I wonder why they wouldn't want people around that could find fraud.
Real hard to penetrate.
I mean, are people that dumb that they don't see what's happening?
Yes, they are.
Are they that stupid?
Yes.
How do people become so dumb? I don't get it.
I don't know for sure.
What happened?
There are actually studies that have shown that people all over the world are literally dumber than they were 50 years ago.
Nix de Trois, thank you for the subs. That's awesome. Thank you. We got a bunch of Twitch Prime in here. Ryoga Hibiki, thank you. Justin Ontario, thank you. Jose Holiday, Social Camo, Cinnamon001. Who else we got in here? Mike Stuffs, thank you. Happy Tuesday to you, AJ. Hope you're doing good, brother. Mitchell Ness, thank you for Twitch Prime. Who else we got in here? Who's hooking it up? J Reed Vic 7, thank you. Talimper, thank you. Hi to you as well. Hilda Starscream, thank you. Crazy to get this many this late in the month. It's awesome. Thanks you guys. What else? Anybody else get in there? One Super Master Gamer, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome as well. And there's all the awesome subs from Nix de Trois. Thank you again. That's great, man. We really appreciate it. Norx Nessie 94, thank you. I think that might be it. Mighty Pona Girl. Yes, they are that dumb. That's the editor of The Atlantic, how dumb they are. Yeah.
Yep.
I think we all just saw how dumb they are, but we knew before this happened how dumb they are. That's the thing. Like, that's the problem, is dumb people can't spot other dumb people. It's really crazy. We are
Many
literally...
boffins were inadvertently added to a group chat to bring us this information.
Literally, the inmates are running the asylum. Literally, the inmates are running the asylum.
You know what's scary about the text thing that happened there?
Yeah.
Is when you read them, they're all talking to each other the way they talk publicly, which means they really believe this shit.
Yeah, it's insane. It's really crazy.
Like, I was kind of sort of hoping that it was all like a front to like put on for the rubes, and behind the scenes they were like very they dropped the facade and just be like, all right, we are taking over in a form of an old. It's like, no, these guys all seem to be true believers.
It's hilarious.
It's interesting.
Yep. One thing before we get going.
The Templars really do believe what they're doing. Look at that.
One thing before we get going, there is a little bit of housekeeping. We are taking questions for Pactor Factor right now. You can go to our Twitter account, Sifted Games on Twitter. You can reply to that tweet there. You can go to sifted.net. There's an article up right now where you can reply with questions there. You can go to our YouTube channel on the Community Hub right now. There's a post there where you can reply to it to give us questions. We are shooting on Thursday this week. I have to roll down to Long Beach to hang out with Pactor for a couple of hours. So make sure you get those questions in over the next 24, 36 hours or so. That way, when I head down there on Thursday, I have plenty of ammo to come out with some great episodes of Pactor Factor. Also, by the way, we have reached the point with Pactor Factor that it has lasted way longer than Pack Attack, the original Pactor show at Game Trailers. He has produced way more episodes of Pactor Factor than he did of Pack Attack at this point. So it's pretty interesting to see how the pages have turned. And we're coming up on our 10th anniversary, by the way, which is insane. I can't believe that. A decade we've been doing this.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And in fact, later on in the show today, we're going to go back in time a little bit, Matt, to an old episode of GameFace that you and I were a part of to talk about a game in this show that we've actually already reviewed in GameFace 10 years ago, which I think it might be the first time that we've ever done this. So that'll be something to look forward to. We're also going to give you our final takes on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now that Matt has had a chance to play it, we're going to talk about a really, really cool indie game that I've been playing this week that I have some big statements to make about. We're going to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles X, the Definitive Edition. We're going to talk about the fact that there was only 4 months between Indiana Jones releasing on Xbox and Game Pass and it releasing for PS5. We have a great show for you guys today. Get comfortable, get yourself a drink. Let's talk about awesome game stuff here on GameFace.
Zed Saber Juno is actually correct. People started going dumb when MTV stopped playing music videos. The opposite of what we thought was happening.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Or maybe that was the problem. Like, Beavis and Butthead got up from the couch and just wouldn't leave us alone afterwards. Beavis and Butthead stopped watching MTV and started voting. That was the problem.
I saw actually a photo that compared a couple of those people to Beavis and Butthead. That was pretty funny. But anyway, let's get on with GameFace, episode 426. We're going to kick things off with Assassin's Creed Shadows, Take 2. Obviously, last week, I put up my polished review of the game, and then we talked about it here on GameFace for about an hour. Matt had not played it at that point, so he was just a gracious co-host at that point, asking me really great questions and kind of probing my mind on what I had played. But now Matt has had a chance to play it, so we're going to talk about it one last time before we get going. The other thing, too, is that, and let me scroll down here. The other thing, too, is you guys have all played it now.
There's a lot more
a lot more
subscribers.
Twitch Prime. JM Rain, thank you. Ham Chop X, thank you. That's a great nickname. Not Cirque, thank you. iViz, thank you. Pot F2, thank you for the bit. That's awesome. Out of Baldy's Way, that's another great username. Thank you for Twitch Prime. Okay, I think that's it now. Yeah. So anyway, you guys have also played. So Matt and I are going to discuss it, and then we'll go to chat at the end of our discussion, and we'll let you guys start sharing your opinions on it as well. And we'll polish off another Assassin's Creed for another 8 years. How long do you think it's going to be until we get to play another one?
I think it's going to be fast. I mean, Hex is supposed to be next year.
Yeah, because it's a little smaller, kind of like Mirage, right? Yeah.
So the next big one, probably, I'd say 3 years.
Yeah.
But we'll get Hexa, and then I imagine, my guess is they're going to port Jade somehow
to other platforms.
It's not going to stay a mobile game forever.
It needs work. Have you seen it?
Not really.
It's very simple looking. I mean, it's blatantly a mobile game.
Blatantly a mobile game, but it also feels like, well, you've done the work, you've done the research, you've done the architecture. Mm-hmm. Like, it feels like at some point you probably use all that to make something else at some point.
They're not going to let it just languish on mobile. That's for sure.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's maybe not the same game, but it's like these are huge undertakings to make one of these, just in terms of the pre-production like research. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
I mean, you're right. They've done a lot of the work already. Up-resing stuff. Maybe they end up with like a remastered version of it or whatever.
Yeah, I think you probably need to remake the assets, but it feels like if you've already done the research on an ancient China setting, why not use it for a
mainline game,
a main game or something?
I agree. How long do you think until another mainline Assassin's Creed?
I said
another 60-hour opus.
I said 3 years.
Really?
Maybe 3 years.
What do you think it'll be? The next big one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss to think about what it might be. It feels like a lot of the most requested locations have kind of been done now.
Well, the nice thing is that there's a lot of places in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you could do anything. You could do.
They're not all interesting, though.
No, but you could do just about anywhere. You could do. I don't think they've really touched Southeast Asia very much. I think it would be interesting to do one in India.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to do one in, like I said, like turn of the 19th, 20th century San Francisco. Teotihuacan, like kind of right after Colombian contact, I think would be
what about like the Aztecs or something like that?
That is the Aztecs.
Yeah.
Teotihuacan is the Aztecs. So I'm saying like as the conquistadors are closing in.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I think.
You know, they're looking.
That clash
the conquistadors
of
are looking for gold, but actually they were looking for pieces of Eden. And the Aztecs were using a piece of Eden to cut people's hearts out at the top of that pyramid,
right,
or
that's
whatever.
What they were doing. You're right.
Or maybe they weren't, and that was just like all magic from the piece of Eden. And the conquistadors are the Templar conquistadors are the ones who told the world that they were cutting people's hearts out, but really the Aztecs were saving the world, and they were the direct descendants of the first people. But they had to like take control of it because the Templars are about control and the Assassins are about freedom, and so only a few Aztecs get away, and they help like maintain the kind of Assassins mentality in the New World until the Assassin's Creed 3 era. But that's one of the reasons why Haytham and all those Templars that have shown up in the Revolutionary period are already under siege by all these other assassins, because they were already here because of the Aztecs spreading the word up north. And you had like whole tribes of Native Americans who already knew about the first civilization and all that stuff.
Ubisoft, you should hire this guy. Seriously.
Yeah.
But really, what should happen is that should be the second cartoon.
You should hire me for that, like one day of brainstorming, and then hire a bunch of like actual Mexicans and Native Americans to write
do the
that
work
for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't have a white guy do that one for you. It's not going to work out.
That would be a mistake. That should be the second cartoon, though. Remember, the first cartoon was you describing Assassin's Creed and how.
Oh, yeah.
And the second one, there you
one.
go, Cartoon Tom. Here you go. There's the sequel to your SIFTD GameFace cartoon right there, recorded on GameFace 426. Okay, well, let's talk about.
I also think there's room to do a cyberpunk one. I think there's room to do a modern, like either modern or a near future one.
Yeah.
Where you really like. I mean, at some point you got to do the big final, like the big showdown, right? Because you bunted on the 2012 apocalypse in 3.
Yeah.
So at some point you got to man up and do something. I mean, if you can pick the right setting, you would. I mean, again, it's gonna feel a little too Watch Dogs Legion, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like you could do something in like 2050 that would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, any setting can be cool if it's in the right hands.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the key.
You just got to. But I think if you remove it enough from the present day, you could do something cool with it that people wouldn't freak out about how it's not historically based.
Right.
And maybe that would need to be
which they shouldn't be doing anyway. But
maybe that would need to be one of the Mirage ones. Maybe it need to be one of the
smaller
ones.
side story type thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Matt, now you've had a chance to play it. How far along are you in the game at this point? And I know you play games a lot differently than most people do, particularly
Not
open
very.
world games.
I think I'm like 15 hours in, but I still haven't seen Yasuke again after the first scene.
Yeah.
He's your tutorial sort of intro character.
Even if you had been playing straight through the campaign,
and then he disappears.
Matt, you still wouldn't have got to him yet.
No, he appears in one shot because as you catch up on Naoe's like backstory, you catch up to the scene where you play as him in the fight attack on the Iga village. And so you see him again in that regard, but you haven't played as him again forever. And I was a little shocked when they first revealed the map, and each area of the map has a recommended level on it. And the first area is recommended level 10, which makes sense because you're like level 5 when that starts. And the others are all like 23, 29, 34, and you level slow in this. Like you level pretty fast if you're doing missions. If you're just running around doing open world stuff, you do not, which is different from the previous 3, because if you ran around just doing random shit in Odyssey and Valhalla, you would out-level the game in like an hour.
Right.
Like everything gave you pretty high XP.
So they did a better job of that in this one?
Wandering around doing open world stuff tends to reward you more with
base
money
stuff,
and hideout stuff and like equipment, which is usually useless.
Yeah.
But
now, if you do wander into those territories, the game basically becomes Dark Souls, where if one hit you die.
Yeah.
So if you want to go into those areas, you can, but you need to be perfect, or you get hit once, you die, and it gets frustrating pretty quickly. I usually just stay away. I've fiddled with it a couple times to see how far I could push it, but usually I'm just like, screw it, I'm out of here.
I wandered into the other areas a couple times just because you know me. I like to go unlock the map. I like to go push and go where I'm not supposed to be and
sink a bunch of towers,
climb up on the towers, and like most of those towers are castles.
They are,
and like not working out too well.
Just use Naoe and just use her grapple hook.
I
all
do.
the way to the
Well,
top.
that's the kind of actually what I was literally about to say. I'm very disappointed in how the grappling hook works.
Yeah.
Because you can only attach it to very specific things, and I was kind of hoping it would be more of a Tenchu, like you're more free to aim it. And
you can't put it wherever you want. You have to wait for the icon to pop up.
Yeah, you have to be under something you can grab and pull yourself up on.
But at least you do have physics with it, and you can swing and use it.
Yeah, the swinging is fun. I was trying to get the achievement for like assassinating somebody off of a swing. It's really picky about that shit. I have to say, like, it teaches you how to do it the first time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, assassinate him from the room. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've never really been able to get that to work again.
You mean where you do the backflip off of?
Yeah, you flip off and land on him.
Yeah.
Because like you have to get the prompt to come up while you're swinging, and it's very hard to get the game to agree that you're swinging over the guy you think you're swinging over.
Or the prompt pops up last second,
or just for a split.
Yeah, I just keep jamming it, basically the button. So whenever the prompt comes up, it just does it.
Yeah, it's just
you get used to it after a while, but you're right, it's inelegant. It's not ideal, to be sure.
This game is interesting. Like, I'm playing on PC.
Wait, before we go past what we were talking about, how do you feel about not playing as Yasuke for so long now that you've experienced it yourself, other than just hearing me talk about it?
I mean, it's fine. Like, I understand why they're doing it. It's definitely Naoe's game. There's part of me that wonder. Again, I've mentioned this before, but there's part of me that wonders if Yasuke was added late in development. In part because a lot of the samurai you fight have a lot of the same moves he does, like the big kick and the kanubo. What's the name of the big? I
think that's the right way to say it.
Kanubo.
Yeah.
They have a lot of the same moves, and I wonder if at some point they realized they built like a samurai combat system that was cool enough that they're like, we should let them play this.
Maybe.
But we don't want to make Naoe do that, so we need. And Yasuke, as one of the very, very few historical figures you've actually played as in the series. People forget that. You don't usually play as real people.
They're there.
They're there, and they're
you interact
around.
with them, but you don't play as
Ben Franklin's totally hanging
Which
with
would have been
Connor.
awesome, actually. To play as Ben Franklin might have been cool.
And Leonardo da Vinci is making you hang gliders and trying to hug you, and getting rebuffed if you don't get that. That's one of the saddest QTEs ever if you miss, because it's so fast. If you miss it, Ezio doesn't hug Leonardo back, and Leonardo's like, oh,
yeah, that's right.
When the first time that happened, I actually reloaded. I missed it, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. So I reloaded the game and made sure I got it because I didn't want Leonardo da Vinci to be sad.
Yeah.
But because Yasuke has nothing in the historical record after Nobunaga is killed, it makes sense for him to be a character like this because you do anything with him. Yeah. You don't know what happened to him.
Right.
No one knows what happened to him. So the fact that he got sucked into a giant conspiracy with mystical artifacts and warring ancient factions, sure.
All right.
Why not? Yeah, we can do that.
Well, you notice he actually had a connection with assassins before the game starts because he has a chance to kill Naoe and sees the blade and is like, oh.
Yeah. He's like, because, the strong implication, because he shows up in the very first scene with the Portuguese that are trying to get permission from Nobunaga to
let their priests run around
Japan, because they're clearly looking for pieces of Eden.
Yeah.
And so the implication is that they're Templars. And so it kind of makes sense that, and Yasuke, not their biggest fan.
Yeah.
They're not very nice to the black guy.
Things worked out well for him, though.
And
kinda.
That is a good scene. Nobunaga kind of clocking what's happening and being like, this guy's good at what he does.
He's
and
coming with me.
These other guys are just conniving weasels. And he's like, your price is to leave the warrior with me where he can live his best life, basically.
Yeah.
And that
but also, Nobunaga's a jerk as well.
Oh, yeah. I actually think this game does a really good job of portraying Nobunaga. Depending on your perspective, then and now, Nobunaga is either a tyrannical conqueror or he is a great uniter of Japan, and they really lean into the idea that you could really see him in either way, depending on your circumstance and your point of view.
They give him a chance to make his case. Yeah, they actually let him deliver monologues about it and explain himself.
And he's a very charismatic. Like the voice actor for him is very good.
Yeah,
he's you understand why people follow him.
Yeah,
it's a very well
he
portrayed
explains
version
it.
of him.
He's like, oh, I kill all these people. How do I have 50,000 men following me? I mean, it's a good question.
It is.
But that's the story in this. Like, we were talking last week about how some people considered the game boring, and it's like, if you don't, there's no 5-headed dragons coming down from the heavens. Like,
it does move pretty slow.
Yeah,
especially early on. Like early on, it's really just about Naoe and her guilt, because of losing her father in the invasion and the attack. Basically,
and then her first kill makes her feel really guilty.
Yeah, which is a flat. So here's the thing: you start with the attack on the Iga village, where her father gets killed, she gets hurt. There's a whole thing where they steal a box that clearly is, we don't see what's in it, but it's like, we know what's in it.
If you've played
Assassin's Creed before, we know what's in that box. It's apple shaped probably, or something like that.
Something the equivalent.
And of course, he's killed by a group of 12 very distinct, extremely uniquely designed samurai and various characters, all wearing different colorful masks that conveniently make up a very, very memorable group of people that you get to kill over the course of the entire game. Like that's the ring of 12, the 12 samurai who attack you and your father are sort of your main targets through the whole game. It's one of those things. It's like in like other RPGs or like JRPG where you meet someone who's like got a costume that's had so much design work put in it. It's like, oh, well, you're going to join me. Yeah. Like, you're clearly going to be part of this. Yeah. You're a main character. I see you.
Yeah. They would have spent so much time on a bit character.
But then to get the backstory on her training and kind of her younger days, you have to go do these Kujikiri meditation points, which are worth doing because you get knowledge points for them, which is how you
gates everything.
They raise the gating for your skill trees.
Yeah.
But I am 90% sure that originally the game just started with her as a kid and you played through all that stuff up to the battle, and then that was it. And I guarantee you that focus testing said that was too boring, because I think because it would have basically taken you an hour and a half to get to the actual meat of the game.
Yeah.
Or
it could just be that they just cut it because they're just like, we got to get the damn game out.
No, because it's all there. It literally continues off itself. So it could have been easily a continuous sequence. I am 100% certain that the flashbacks used to be the first 2 hours of the game. And I think this is probably, in terms of pacing, a better way to do it. But there is no the reason I think that is because there's no narrative reason to know there's no narrative reason to begin in media res. There's no reason to not know that information before you learn it. There's no reason to know what's happening here before you go back, except for maybe a sense of impending doom. But like the early stuff is way too like casual and unhurried to be. It's definitely that thing where like I'm trying to remember. There was another Assassin's Creed that did. It's like the early part of 2, where you're young Ezio getting in gang fights and just sort of doing frivolous bullshit for like 30 minutes before all the inciting incidents happen. And I think they are trying to replicate 2 in a lot of ways. And I see they're trying to go back to the drawing board a little bit, and mostly that works. Do
you think it's a reflection of the player that something like that wouldn't be considered boring a decade ago and
100%,
now?
100%, absolutely. And I also think it's an indication of like people having less patience with this series and I have that too. Like there is part of me playing this early on where I'm like, can we get on with the people realizing the premise of Assassin's Creed thing, like
the Assassins versus the Templars?
Like the story with Now I Enter like all that stuff, we're gathering the troops to sort of like push back against Nobunaga. That all is fine and works, but then you're interspersed with little moments where they're sort of piecing together that there's something bigger happening with the Templars and the Assassins thing. And I'm just like, yeah, we know. We've been doing it. Like, I'm tired of watching characters catch up to things we've known for 17 years.
I mean, that's a good discussion is, like, how much concerned are you with onboarding new people versus just pleasing the existing audience?
I don't care about new people. And partly, I don't think you need to care because it's not a complicated story. I mean, yes, it's a complicated lore, but the story is Assassins good, Templars bad, magic items powerful, go. Like, that's all you need to know. You know, and like all you need to know is like, you need the Templar characters to be doing something terrible. They own slaves. Done.
Right out of the gate.
You need the assassins to be like, you know, sympathetic, had their village attacked and massacred and her father died, done. And you need to know why the MacGuffin needs to be kept out of the hands of the bad guys. I mean, just tell me that. Like, I mean, you already know that because her father didn't want them to have it. So there you go.
I mean, but that's the mystery that drives the game.
Right. But
literally, I mean, that's the whole reason to keep playing is figuring out what's in the box.
Well, I don't care what's in the box so much as like, and they don't need to know what's in the box. They need all they need. That's the MacGuffin. They just need to know they need the box. But in terms of like figuring out the conflict, it's not an interesting mystery. Like the story of her trying to like. I mean, she is out for revenge early on before she starts to figure out that there's also other good. Because that's a little frustrating early on where you got characters that are like, it's like revenge is not the way. Violence is not the. Violence is absolutely the answer to Oda Nobunaga. I don't know what to tell you. Like
either you kill him or
he murdered everyone in her village except her. Like yes, like you probably are going to need to
have to
fight
be violent
him at some point. I'm sorry. I know you're a monk, but like just chill out on the. But there's part of me that's just constantly waiting for it to get going. The only frustration with Yasuke, I think, is the brief period I played as him, I really liked his combat.
It's different than anything ever in the franchise. Different,
yeah, absolutely. And which is again why I see why you focus on him when you first start promoting this game last year. Like, he is just the most different character they've ever made.
Ever, yeah.
He can charge through shit like nothing can. Like he is the most powerful fighter in the history of Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah.
And he feels like it, and he feels like he should be because he's this giant samurai.
Yeah.
Like, the combat, you know. It feels different. And then like you go to her and there is an element of like, you can definitely still feel that it's made out of the same Lego bricks as Odyssey and Valhalla. Like it's definitely built on that stuff.
Yeah.
The combat is very, very different.
Yeah. I think way better.
It is definitely an improvement. You can still, when you first start playing it, you're going to be like, oh, I'm pressing the shoulder buttons and she's doing the, but once you see how it interacts with things and how even the stuff where you can't really directly assassinate some of the more powerful guys, it's not as annoying as it. I don't know why it was so annoying in Odyssey and Valhalla where you do that and it only take half their health off, and you're like, oh fuck you, you have a blade in your neck, you dip. Now they like just catch you and like throw you away. And
it's actually kind of hilarious because sometimes they do it in a very nonchalant way.
Yeah, well, because she's so small,
and they don't even go after her. They'll stop her from assassinating. They fling her away
because they think they're gonna win. No problem.
I love that.
And the thing is, like, she can win just about any fight.
Yeah.
But you can't walk through it. You are going to have to pay attention.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. I think that's good. He is obviously it was funny to me that like you can kind of tell where they think you're gonna go. Like there's a side mission with a bunch of other like samurai general guys that you're supposed to kill, and if you highlight them in the objectives menu, you can see what your rewards for everything are, and the rewards for them tend to be Yasuke gear. So I'm like, okay, so I want to fight them with him. Is what you're telling me.
I guess my question for you is, once you do get to the point where he's just a part of the game and he's unlocked, will you choose to play as him? Or will you play as Naue?
I think it depends what I'm going to think is more interesting in terms of like...
For the mission, you mean?
For the mission, yeah. Like, am I more interested to see what happens to him or what happens to her when this goes down?
Yeah. I've ended up playing with Naue probably 75% of the time, I would say.
I mean, she is the main character.
Yeah.
It's her
She's
game.
just more versatile. It's like she has the eagle vision. She's better at assassinating. She's better at stealth. He can do that stuff, but he's kind of clunky and awkward doing it.
Well, if I was going to play Yasuke, I'd imagine I'd just kick the door down and kill everybody.
Or run through the door. Yeah.
Now to be clear, I have ended up doing that with her a fair amount of times,
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
Not on purpose, but that's one of my only issues there is that, like, they haven't really brought back the blade in the crowd thing that Assassin's Creed started with.
Where you're like tracking them through the crowd, and there's groups of people you're blending in.
And if you do it right, you kill them and let's walk away, and no one even knows who did it. Like that's not here.
Yeah, I'll say this: there's a couple instances later on.
That's not the core. That's not 95%.
No, you're right.
Of the gameplay.
It's not like the whole game.
It is sneaking around through bushes and watching the guy walk by, and then throwing the bell, and then they go over the bell, and you come out and you stab him, and it's just like, yeah, okay, grab me, but it's just like it is still stealth the way I've done it a lot, and it's good, like it works, but that's about all. And there's a couple weird little things, like the double assassination is back. I appreciate that. The problem is that it ruins your weapon choice, because you have to equip a Tanto to do that. Oh,
that's right, yeah.
And
I hardly ever use a Tanto.
I never use a Tanto because it's a weak little weapon. I want to use my katana, but the problem is when you do a double assassination, it switches to the Tanto and doesn't switch back.
And then it's your equipped weapon there.
Yeah, and then you got to switch back to it. And I'm like, until I learned that, I kept getting in fights, and I'm like, why am I using this tiny little knife? Like, I'm not fucking killing
because
anybody.
the hidden blade isn't a primary weapon in the game. It's just an accessory, basically.
Well, because she needs the Tanto to be the second assassination, because she uses the hidden blade for the other thing. But I wish it would just, if I do that, I wish it would just give me my sword back.
Right.
I kept getting Red Dead Redemption 2 flashbacks. Where it's like, just
put the weapon away.
Use the weapon I told you to use. Just because I want to kill two guys at the same time doesn't mean I want you to like engage a samurai with a kanobo with like the fucking dagger. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I haven't actually messed with the Kusari Sarigama very much. I have one.
Weapon. You should use it.
I will, but I'm waiting until I can afford some of the skills.
Yeah. It helps because it keeps people away.
Yeah.
It keeps them from getting in on her. Like, you end up learning, like, the exact distance that thing can strike. And after you use it for a while, you get real good at it to where, like, within a pixel, that distance that you need to start whacking people in the head with that thing. And it just starts it's really feels great to use, particularly with, like, the DualSense controller. The DualSense in this, by the way, I didn't really mention it last week, is awesome, man. The way that they've incorporated it into this, it's like, turn down the music sometimes and just focus on the controller. I guarantee you have not even realized all the stuff that's happening on that controller.
Well, I'm not using that controller, so no, I definitely haven't realized that.
Yeah, like I mentioned in the polished video review that you can feel the raindrops on the controller if it's raining. You'll feel.
Oh my god, that would annoy the shit.
You don't notice it though, Matt. You literally.
I'll never notice it because I'm never going to use that.
But you literally, I didn't notice it until I turned off all the music and my wife started talking to me, and I heard just a slight little sound. Then I started focusing on my hands, and I could feel just very subtly the raindrops just tapping on the controller. Like, all that stuff just sucks you in, man. You don't even realize it's happening.
I so hate that.
Why?
Why would I feel that on my hand?
Because the rain's falling on your hand.
Vibration, controller vibration just takes me out of shit like that. I hate that.
That's so weird.
I really don't like it.
That's so weird. I mean, it wouldn't be a thing if everybody felt that way. You're the anomaly here, is what I'm saying.
I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world who thinks that vibration stuff is interfering. I know, I've actually seen, and I don't go this far, but I've seen tons of people who instantly turn that off. They hate it. And
okay.
I mean, look, and like a lot of those people go back to the Rumble Pack on that. Like, I didn't mind the Rumble Pack, whatever.
I mean, this is so much better than the Rumble Pack.
Of course,
the Rumble Pack was very garish and.
None of that stuff communicates through my hands. Like, that's the thing that I don't understand. Like, it makes sense if you're like doing a gunfire thing through the controller because I would feel that when I shoot the gun.
That's just one thing I brought up. It's like the whole game has all these little subtle uses of it. Just using the weapons and feeling when you clash, feeling the force, the jerk of the weapon clashing with another weapon.
I just don't care. It doesn't do anything for me. See the chat some of the chat agrees with me. It sounds like 4D nonsense. I mean, I guess is that what they call that? 4D. Oh, I mean, he means like the 40X like theater thing with the seats shake and they spray water in your face. It's not that bad. Like that. I
turn it off in games where like Call of Duty, where I just want immediate response and it's all about being competitive. I'll turn it off, but otherwise I always leave it on.
Commander Fed, I turn off vibration sometimes. The one I made sure to turn it on was Astrobot did do that stuff well.
Yeah, it's great.
But like again, Astrobot works for me in that regard because it's like a goofy little like it's very abstracted. It's just like fun. It's just like,
again though, I think the way they've handled it in this game is very subtle, and honestly, I hardly ever bring it up. It's done so well in this game. That's why I mentioned it.
Well, I'll take your word for it because I'm never going to try it.
Well, if there's someone sitting there right now that's like 50-50 on whether they want to play it with it on or off, I'm just letting them know that if they are somebody who only likes to use it when it's really good, that this is a game where they should turn it on.
The Limper, I always turn off vibration. Lebao 81, I always turn off vibration.
Yeah, look, I know there's going to be a couple people that agree with you.
You just said I was the only one.
I said you're an anomaly. Yeah. Anomaly is not just one person. It can be a small group of people.
We got a lot of anomalies in the chat then.
Whatever.
That's already more anomalies than I found in this game to unlock whatever that fucking animus shit is.
Oh, you'll find a lot more. There's a ton of them.
I did not understand what it was trying to tell me to find. And it was like, you got to progress. I got 3 tutorial pop-ups. They're like, you got to progress your animus project. And I was like, with what? Like, what are you trying to tell me to do? And at one point, I was riding through the middle of the woods, and there was a weird animus thing floating over a pond. I'm like, what is that?
They stick them in the most obscure places in the entire game. You will be riding out in the middle of the wilderness, and there will not be a sync point within 2 miles, and that's where you find those things.
But then
it's so weird.
They give you like 700 animus points, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I guess it's not as hard as I thought. But it's like weird. It's like a season. It's like a battle pass.
Yeah.
But for like hidden objects,
like
in
the animus stuff, the animus hub.
Yeah.
The one category in there is basically a battle pass. It's like as you go, you just unlock stuff or whatever.
I mean, okay.
But it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, at least they're not making you charge you for it. But like,
although there will be microtransactions in this game eventually.
Oh, they're already there.
Are they?
I mean, it's the same as all they've always done with these in the last like however many years. Is like you can buy sets of skins for weapons and outfits and horses and the same. They've been doing that since Origins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where you can buy the horses and the outfits for both of them and the weapons and the everything. I mean, the only thing that's different is that you don't have an eagle in this, so you can't get a special flying friend.
Yeah, well, you only have eagle vision for one of the characters as well.
But you don't have like the flying eagle where you spot everybody.
Yeah, where you can actually control the eagle flying around over the world and reveal the world.
Although this is like
way.
Much faster, so I don't really miss it.
Yeah.
Like, instead of, like, trying to get the eagle to agree that you're looking at the guy you're trying to tag.
You just look at him.
Just like, let's look at the guy. Yeah. Just like, there he is.
Yeah, they definitely found a better way to do that. Although, I think it does lose a little bit of its charm, but...
I mean, not everybody needs a pet bird.
No, you're right. You're right.
At a certain point, you're stretching belief at that point.
So, Matt, you tend to play open world games differently than most people. You don't just trudge through the campaign like I generally do. You just kind of poke around the open world, sink a lot of stuff. How has that worked out for you in Assassin's Creed Shadows?
All right. I mean, like I said, progression's slow when you do it that way. And it kind of runs into the thing that some open worlds have where, like, I've been to a bunch of places where there wasn't really much to do. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, but I can't get in here, and this doesn't open, and this isn't that. And then, like, later I'll kind of do story stuff, and then, like, it'll send me to those places I've already been. And, like, now there's stuff to do. Mm-hmm. And I find that a little meh. Like, there's a weird thing with this game where, like, they're taking Mirage's thing where it's like you got to piece stuff together and you got to figure out where things are. And it's kind of, you can do it in whatever order you want to do. But it ends up feeling weirdly linear the way it guides you through the map. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. Like,
I struggled to find a path through this game. I felt like I was just getting pulled in like 4 different directions trying to figure out which way to go.
Yeah, I mean, if you just got to kind of, I guess, focus on one target at a time. But it does tend to like pop other stuff up for you. And, now this ally has a quest. Now this person. And I tended to sort of default to like if so far I've defaulted to like if something pops up that has a marker on the map, I will go do that now.
Without needing the scouts to go and...
I don't really use the scouts.
Oh, really?
I usually find that it telling me where to go is close enough.
Yeah, I mean, it'll give you a mile radius.
Give you a vague area. Usually if it's telling you to be in a certain location, you're near there. You go to the Eagle Vision, you find the blue dot.
Usually, I go to the area and just start doing other stuff, other missions, or collecting note pages, and then you usually just stumble upon the person that you're looking for running around that area.
I haven't had trouble. I mean, usually my scouts are all used up from like scouting resources anyway.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I use them mostly for too.
That's one of my biggest things in this is like I need more scouts because I have 4 scouts and you keep putting 5 sets of resources in the fucking castles, and if I send them back, I have to fast travel, and that advances the season. Although early on it feels like it doesn't advance the season. It feels like it's been summer for a long time.
Well, the interesting thing for me is that I never timed it myself. I just played it for 50 hours, and just after all that time, it felt to me like every season turned over in like 45 minutes or an hour. But then like somebody mentioned on SIFTD that like, no, it's actually way longer than that.
Yeah, I don't think that seasons unlock until later because it
does take a while before the season
starts.
Because
I have fast traveled a number of times and it has not snowed.
Yeah. Well, it's not every time you fast travel. So the game gets to a point where it says it's time to change seasons, but it doesn't do it automatically. Either you can go into the pause menu and you can tap, I think, left or right on the D-pad and change it yourself manually, or the next time you either fast travel, or I think if you assign something to one of your scouts, it'll just automatically then turn a season.
But every
over.
time I fast travel, it says the season changed.
It's not every time. It's only once the game...
Every time I fast travel, the little thing pops up and says the season has changed, but it hasn't changed. It's still spring.
Interesting. That's weird.
The little circle meter pops up and says when you fast travel, the season will advance.
And
but
it doesn't.
It hasn't. I assume because I'm too early in the game, they haven't unlocked the season thing yet.
Huh.
But it still does it because the season has to advance for your scouts to come back and bring your stuff.
Yeah, because then you can send them
So I
again.
assume that it's just doing that, but it's leaving me in because narratively this is all supposed to happen in the space of like a week.
That could be like it's trying to keep you in that season for the narrative part of it.
That's what I think. I think once I kill these first 2 targets, I figure it'll move on narratively, and then maybe I'll get to see winter.
Because eventually that is how it works. Like the game is like, okay, we've reached the point where it's time to change seasons. Either you can go in and do it manually, or it will do it for you once you fast travel, or...
Because it still does the thing. Like every time I fast travel, it says it advanced the season, and it reset all the locations, and there's everyone I killed is back, basically.
Yeah, it's not every time you fast travel, though. You like...
It's every time I've fast traveled so
But
far.
it's not that way, though. So next time it happens, try to fast travel again immediately after, and you'll see that.
I've done that by accident, and it did the same thing.
What?
Every time I fast travel, it does the whole thing where it shows the environment and like the sun goes, but it doesn't change seasons so far.
Oh, so you're not getting the cinematic that shows the seasons changing.
Well, it's a season change it is a season change cutscene, but it's showing the same season I was already in again.
Weird. That never happened to me. You're right, though. Early in the game, it didn't feel like the seasons were changing at all, and I think it is because of narrative reasons.
Yeah, I think that's just not
at a certain point in the game, though. It's like, hey, here's this thing in the game where you change seasons, and it does then adhere to the rules that I was talking about, where the game is like it's on a timer. The game decides when it's actually time, but it doesn't force it on you until you decide to fast travel. And that, or switch characters. If you go in and try to switch from Naoe to Yasuke, and the game thinks it's time to change seasons, it will then change the seasons.
Well, I've definitely not gotten it. It hasn't told me it's time to change seasons yet, and I intentionally don't fast travel because I was like, well, I don't want the seasons to go too far. Right. And eventually, I'm like, wait a minute.
Eventually, you won't have to.
It's like I didn't want it to be winter.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really like the flashback mission where she was in the snow. Because when if you don't run on the established paths, you're like trudging through snow. Like this sucks. Like
you know the snow melts in this game.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the snowstorm melting thing.
There's so much little stuff in this game.
But it's so I was avoiding it for a long time, and it never told me that. But I think it's just because I'm so early. I'm still in the first area.
Because it's the way that you play the game. Open world games generally, you just kind of putt around and do your thing.
I don't think I'm all that unusual in that.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think the average player doesn't play through the campaign?
Then why make an open world?
Because you can still have fun in the open world playing through the campaign. You don't have to ignore the campaign to have fun in the open world.
I know a lot of people that do it the way I do it.
You're the only one I know. You're the number one and the only one.
Well, talk to more people.
Well, I mean, I don't think the average Joe picks up a game that just put around.
Maybe not, but I think in this game you kind of have to. Like your average Joe that you're describing, I think would have a hard time understanding the objective menu.
The what?
The objectives menu.
Oh, you mean like the screen with all the hit
faces.
lists and everything?
Yeah. It's a little esoteric in places. Unless you played Mirage, then you already know what you're looking at.
Well, I mean, once you get your head around it, it all works the same. Like,
sure, but like this game doesn't just tell you where to go next. In the way the other ones did.
No, that's why I was struggling trying to figure out what is the main path in this game. I'm not even 100% sure what the main path, what I could have done from the beginning of the game to finish the game more quickly, I guess is the best way I could
I got more backup in the chat again.
About what?
How I play open world games. They do the same. Do it Matt's way. It says that my husband, I take my time because I love exploration. Store can wait. It's not going anywhere. That's pretty much my feeling. Cantono. I've gone days without doing the main quest of open world games.
Well, I mean, look, everybody pokes around the open world a little bit.
That's
but
not
nobody
what
starts
say.
playing a game and just spends time in the open world and never accomplishes
they're all
an
agreeing
objective.
with me. That's what they're saying. I'm closer to Matt's approach, says J. Reed Vic 7. Also, this is the chicken and egg of why GTA made the open world sandbox the default genre. Some people do that, some people do the other, and this way you get both of us.
Yeah. I would never play that way. I don't have time. I have to move on. I have to finish a game and get going.
See, that's kind of what I'm saying is like people who do have time probably play it more like that.
Maybe.
And that's one reason that you have a 20% completion rate on these fucking things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play
or the fact that it takes 50 hours to complete the quest, even if you just go straight through it.
I didn't play the old GTAs that way because there wasn't really anything to do.
Yeah, the open worlds in those games aren't really alive like they are now.
No, they're toys.
Because it's been 13 years since they released
the original open world games were toys.
Yeah.
They were like you can either play this game or you can have fun with this toy that is this space.
And to be fair, that is the way most people did play Grand Theft Auto 3. It was just a thing they fiddled around with. They just drove around and just tried to kill people, basically.
Yeah, if you talk to people about the story of GTA 3, most of them have no idea what you're talking about. And to be fair, it wasn't all that memorable, but like...
Yeah, it actually kind of turned me off to the game watching people play it that way. I felt like it was just like a murder simulator, and that people were like letting loose their worst like impulses.
Nah, I think it was just fun to kill shit. I mean, it was
a first.
It was the closest to like old beat 'em up games in some way. Like there weren't really anything like that at the time.
It was just shocking.
And what I used to do is once I got far enough in the game to have enough stuff kind of available, I would just put in the codes that like made all the pedestrians hostile and give myself a bunch of like crazy
so you can
weapons.
Get the highest warning level like right away.
Well, just to see how long I could last.
See what happens.
It was like a survival game, and usually the answer was about 40 seconds. But like
once 10 cop cars rolled in.
I mean, once you realize that the way to make money in that game is to be a firefighter.
Yeah,
like
you got to set fires so you have work.
I mean, that's the first thing in San Andreas. As soon as you get a fire truck, you just do a whole bunch of fire truck missions. You'll have millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and you never need to worry about money again until you lose all your shit.
Yeah,
which annoyed the shit out of me. But now I know, and I don't bother to do that until after that.
Now that you've played this, how do you feel about all the quote-unquote controversy around this game before it launched?
Well, I feel the same way I did before. It's all a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
Game reviewed very well in Japan.
Reviewed very well, sold very well
in Japan.
There was a very fun period the day and the day after it released where the grifter dipshits had a chance to come up with new talking points as to why the game sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And so their follower dumbasses were left commenting on all the posts and stuff online about it with the same false nonsense that had, but like they're trying to be like, well, no, it's historical, accurate, and like the comment replies were just people be like, no, man, I'm playing it right now. It's really good. Like, what are you talking about? It's like it wasn't working anymore. And there was like this
because now people can play the game,
right? And it's like there was this little gap where like they didn't have new marching orders, but they were still trying to use their old shit. And everyone's like, no, what are you talking? That's not true.
I'm playing it
like
now,
you haven't played it because it's not like that. Like he's not even in it yet. Like, and it's very funny. And like I mean, look, this thing looks like it's gonna sell pretty well. They've already got 2 million players. I know a lot of people be like, well, they said players because Ubisoft the subscription they didn't really sell that many. Motherfucker, do you think that many people really subscribe to that Ubisoft subscription? I mean, come on, man. Even I don't subscribe to that. What are you fucking talking about? But again, is it enough to make a dent in Ubi's situation? Probably not. I mean, but who fucking cares?
I mean,
I'm not a Ubi shareholder.
Yeah, I don't care, honestly.
You gave me a good Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
Great. Like,
I mean,
that's all I
the
care
game would
about.
have to sell like GTA levels for it to save a publisher.
Yeah, you're going to need like 10 million copies. And I don't think this is going to sell 10. I don't think anything sells 10 million copies.
Somebody
anymore.
asked me this question for Ask Shane Anything last week, and the last part of their question was, can it save Ubisoft? And I realized after I recorded it that I never answered that part of the question, but then I also realized that I didn't answer it because subconsciously I knew that no one game is ever going to save a publisher.
Like, this is years of poor decision making, and one game is not going to change.
It's not going to fix it. It can't.
No.
I mean, it's great that it's doing well and it could help Ubisoft, but...
Yeah, it's a good example of why you don't want Ubisoft to go away.
Right, but it's not going to save Ubisoft.
But it's not going to change the fact that they've had Beyond Good and Evil 2 in development for almost half my lifespan. Like,
yeah. And personally, I don't really care if Ubisoft sells off its IP. Like, I would prefer Ubisoft keeps making this game. I hope they don't give it to other developers. But if they want to form some offshoot S-Corp or whatever to put all their big IP in it and, like, form this new sort of side, I don't care. As long as I keep getting the games. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, the only end result for players is the game.
Yeah.
And
I
if
have
the
no
game's
affinity
good-
for any of these companies. Like, other than the fact that they make games that I like to play, and I would like to keep playing them. That's it. That's all. That's my only affinity for these corporations.
And we're also old enough to know that, like, these corporations come and go, and good games happen anyway.
Think about all the games.
There was a time when EA was a mark of quality.
Yeah. Well, also think back, Matt, to when every publisher was putting out like 20 or 30 games a year.
Yeah.
And there used to be like 30 U.S. publishers. Now there's like 4. That's insane.
Yeah. And you remember, like, when you just had publishers and their whole job was to put out, like, also rans.
Yeah.
Remember Encore?
Yeah.
And all that shit. It was like, and they constantly showing up. It's like, here's our new C-list game. We came all the way here from Europe to demo it to you in your office, and it's like, all right.
We have 5 of these, and we're hoping one of them sells 200,000.
Right, they would demo like 5 of them at once. They're like, we have got lots of stuff. We got like one of these.
I gotta go to lunch. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call it right here.
You're like putting the unpaid interns in. It's like, just tell me what happens. I don't know.
It was always interesting.
It's just Codemasters. It's fine. You know?
It seriously was interesting though, Matt, when they would come around and they want to show you like their whole upcoming lineup of games, and you're like, I can't sit here with BAM Entertainment for the next 8 hours.
No one can. No one can sit there with BAM Entertainment.
So it starts to get awkward, and you're like, how do I end this? They're like, and now here's this GBA game, and you're like, oh, our GBA thing's on the fritz. We can't, play it.
Well, I did enjoy part of that early on when it was all still new to me, and like all the other people on the staff at Extended Play were like, over all that shit, they'd be like, hey, do you want to go sit in on this? I'm like, yeah, like that sounds awesome. And like they're like, okay, especially when I was still freelancing, they're like, you want to come in and watch
the demo?
Watch the demo for like 4 hours and I'll pay you half a day. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, you what?
You'll pay me for that?
You understand? I've been working to register for 13 years before this. That sounds like that sounds amazing.
It's god tier employment. Yeah. So Matt, are you enjoying the game? Are you having fun? Do you like it more than Valhalla?
Yes, I like it more than Valhalla. I don't know if I like it more than Odyssey yet.
Okay.
You said last week that it's probably your number 3 Assassin's Creed. I don't think this is number 3 for me.
Okay.
I think it's probably top 5, and I won't know for sure until I get Yasuke.
Yeah, you got a long way to go.
And get to play more, but also like it is long. Like Jeff Gerstmann described this as Assassin's Creed Wildlands, and I think that's a pretty accurate description in terms of sort of the individual things you're trying to do, and like just how you have to be a little more meticulous in this game than previous. I mean, you can't just barge your way through like Cassandra and Eivor could, and I think that's appropriate for
the setting and the characters. Yeah.
But it does mean it moves slower, and it does mean that you can't get as much done in a session, and it does mean that when I load it back up, I'm like, all right, I'm still here. Like I am not loving it.
Wow.
I am liking it. And I'm a
but
little.
Well, if you like it more than Valhalla,
I do like it more than Valhalla.
and you played that for 200 hours, you're in for it.
I stopped enjoying Valhalla after about 120, though. So
it's funny.
There's nothing else to fucking play.
Yeah.
Again, I'll probably finish it by the time the next one comes. Not Hexa, but maybe not Hexa. I might not be done with this in a year, but I bet I'll be done with it by the time the next big one comes out.
Second best-selling Assassin's Creed ever, only behind Valhalla, and Valhalla was a COVID game.
Yeah.
So really, equal footing. This is probably the best-selling Assassin's Creed ever so far, anyway.
Probably
in its first week.
Yeah, without that anomaly, I would think. I put it below Black Flag and Rogue. I like the boat stuff a lot. I agree
with that.
I would probably.
Black Flag for sure.
I mean, my favorite I usually say my favorite is Brotherhood, but I continually realize that I need to play that again. But it's hard to play that again because it's not on PC properly. Yeah. They did the Ezio collection kind of pseudo remaster only came out on consoles. So maybe at some point I'll replay that on PlayStation and just sort of like decide if I still like that, because I really have good memories of Brotherhood. Like it was really the pinnacle of what that.
I think I could play it again and still think it's pretty damn good.
But it's really been a long time, and I've replayed Black Flag and Rogue in the last 5 years, so I'm much more fresh with them and know that I still really like them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Black Flag is still great.
Black Flag is still great. And I like Rogue a little more just because I like Shay more as a character, and I
understand that.
I like the North Atlantic setting a little more. Like there's just something a little more high seas yar about that, even though it's not, because the pirates were in the Caribbean. But it's like, I don't know. I like that you can go into the Arctic and find narwhals and shit like that. I think
what's your hideout look like, Matt? Because you're probably just collecting all those notes.
Barely anything.
Oh, really?
I've put the essential buildings in that I need to upgrade stuff, but I haven't really touched the aesthetic.
I thought you were gonna like tell me, oh my god, I have like 80 buildings and I built this little metropolis.
I am not anyone like that. I'm actually. I wish it wasn't like that.
Oh, okay.
I having to put every tree. I'm like, oh fuck you.
Like, well, I mean, they add some stuff on their own. Like you put in a building, and it's not just a building that's plopped down there. Generally, like there'll be some trees and shrubs around it.
Yeah, or you blob it on top of them or whatever. But it's like, but I'm putting them down as I get them because I need them for utility.
Yeah. And
there's a part of me that's like, okay, I guess once I have all this stuff unlocked, I would be able to build like a little complex out of them.
Yeah.
But I am never gonna do that because that's a bunch of busy work bullshit that I don't care about. Like I don't.
As long as you have like the core 5 buildings.
Like it's cool that it's there because I know there are people that love to do that, and I recognize that. But like I'm never gonna do that. I don't.
Yeah.
The aesthetics of that don't matter to me. No one will ever see it because it's an offline single-player game, so who cares?
As long as you have those, I think it's 5 or 4 buildings that actually do stuff, that's all you need.
You got the individual little rooms, and you got the little other buildings that like do little bonuses. Like it's a nice system. It's cool. Like I like it. I wish you didn't have to run all the way out of it at the end of it when you're done.
You can just fast travel out of there if you want.
Yeah, it's just, but I don't like the fast travel because it moves the fucking time forward.
It doesn't eventually.
But yeah, and it's just like, okay. And I reckon, there's like the little gate hallway thing. So I do notice like looking at those, I realized like if you wanted to at some point, you could because you can connect all the buildings into one big long building, which is very silly.
Well, they also give you the little things to connect buildings
you can connect
together.
them up. You could basically make your own little like complex where you'd never need to go outside to do any of this stuff, which you probably shouldn't do with a blacksmith when it really comes down to it.
I created a courtyard in the middle of all the buildings just to put my pets in. So I have all the dogs and all the cats in this little courtyard in the middle of all the buildings.
I do like the way the pet system works. Where like as soon as you pet a dog or a cat, you unlock the ability to put that animal in your hideout. As many as you want.
Yeah. You can make a herd. And eventually you get other... I'm not going to spoil it, but eventually you get other animals as well.
Yeah, I've seen like in the store they're selling like skins for more exotic animals that I'm like, okay, clearly you get other stuff later.
It's a cool little system.
Yeah.
Like I found myself being attached to my little hamlet that I created. Like I go in there, check it out. Go and pet my pets and see what they're doing in there. Like I'd put some of my dogs along the stream, and I created this little area along the stream. Like I don't know. I guess I got a little attached to it, but I would agree it's a frivolous addition that certain people will really like and other people won't care about. But it's nice to have that stuff for the people that do.
Yeah, I have. It is nice. Also kind of nice to see this. Like, okay, so you weren't really rushed on this because you're going to put something like that in there. However,
was delayed like 3 times.
Delayed several times. Still some issues. At least
on the PC version, right?
Like, I'm a bunch of weird shit. Some stuff that's just like weird, like technical stuff that I don't understand. Like, I mean, there's little things that I've seen that are like It's weird to me that there's a bunch of stuff you can't climb properly in this that you could climb in previous games, namely trees and certain wall. Like, she can climb straight up a vertical wall, but she can't go up a slope. Like, that she just slide, because that's basically to keep you off certain parts of the map. You just can't climb these certain mountains.
Like the outside walls of a lot of the temples and castles, you can't climb.
You can't do it because of reasons. I guess they want you to go in a certain way, but like, there's the problem with that is like, so like sometimes you'll end up in situations where you'll fall onto things you're not supposed to be able to hop over. And this has happened in trees. It's happened on like tables and something. And she will just sort of float there for a second. And then she will teleport away from the thing she's stuck on and like get you out of it. Because there's no like automatic. And sometimes she just like moves to the side of the tree and drops you down. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, that's a very silly way to do that, but at least I don't have to restart the game, right?
Yeah, you're not stuck.
Sometimes she teleports like a mile.
Really?
And like I've had it.
I've never had any of that happen.
It dump me in the river once.
Wow.
I was in Osaka Castle and I landed on some thing that like she was just sort of floating over, and then she just flies across the countryside and lands in the river. And I was like,
what?
I guess
I've never had anything like that happen
to me. It's
me.
very weird. It's and I've seen videos of it happening on other things.
Have you seen it in other versions besides PC?
It was the PS5 version.
Wow. I haven't had anything like that happen.
It's a very specific thing when you land on something that the game doesn't anticipate you to land on. Yeah. And I just feel like there has to be like in the other
better way to handle it.
Yeah, in the other games when things like that happen, the character just sort of slid off it and landed on it. Like, what's wrong with that?
That's fine.
More seriously, the PC version has a thing where DLSS, NVIDIA DLSS doesn't show up in the menu sometimes when you start the game, and you have to reboot the game multiple times until it comes back. Now, you saw this morning, I was showing it to you, and they put a patch up. And the NVIDIA DLSS was there the first time I loaded it up. And that's the first time that's ever been there when I loaded it up. Usually it defaults back to automatic, and the DLSS option is not in there. Yeah. So they may have fixed that. But good. That was a weird option. I know my brother-in-law spent a lot of time having to reboot over and over again to get the DLSS
That
thing.
sucks.
I never had
Was it working even though the feature wasn't there showing?
It was using it was using FSO or FSO.
Oh.
It's using like the generic.
Gotcha.
One. It runs very well. I'm at 4K, everything maxed out, and it's running at 60 frames a second without frame gen.
Has hell frozen over?
I am using. I'm obviously using the dynamic resolution, but I'm not using frame gen. And it runs very well.
Wow, a console game launching great on PC. Yeah. Who would have ever thought it could happen?
It's definitely in better shape than Outlaws.
Yeah.
The other thing, and again, maybe not having early access helped.
Yeah.
The other thing that is fucking one of the most bizarre things I've seen in a game in years. As some of you know, I am an invert Y person.
One of them.
There are two invert Y options in this game's options menu. There is an invert Y stick, invert Y, period, and there's invert Y aiming. If you go invert Y aiming, it's just a checkbox. Invert Y, when you invert that, I inverted that, and I inverted aiming, just like I do in everything. I go in, and it has inverted everything.
Oh man.
So pushing up on the left stick makes her run towards the camera. And I'm like, what in the fuck
Who
is
would
that?
ever want that?
Why would you? So I go back into it, and it turns out that instead of just activating it, if you click on it, it's got a bunch of options, and it's got off, on, left stick, and right stick. And I'm like, okay, right stick, because that's my camera.
Yeah.
And then I go in, and then I realize, okay, that's right, that's good. And I realize a little bit later, because I have invert aiming checked, it also inverts that because it inverts the whole stick. So now aiming's wrong because I had to uncheck inverted aiming to get it to be inverted when aiming. And then eventually I realize, again, it has inverted everything on the right stick. So when I'm in the map, I have to push up to zoom out and down to zoom in. And when it shows text up that you scroll through with the right stick, I have to push up to scroll down and down to scroll up. What are you fucking doing?
They've made it like dozens of games.
That wasn't that way in Outlaws. It wasn't that way in Valhalla. It wasn't that way in anything I played from Ubisoft in forever. This is like there is no more solved problem than this. What are you doing?
Matt, have you ever tried in your life to like get over it and like use the other? Have you? And you just gave up eventually?
No, I can do. I just don't prefer it.
Yeah.
Like one time, and I think I've told this story before, but more than 10 years ago, I had to play for Capture for a marketing thing, a pre-alpha copy version of a game that actually never came out. It came out eventually from another developer. So this is I played a pre-alpha version of a game that was scrapped and started over by a different developer.
Okay.
And it was so early that it did not have any control.
Was this Dead Island 2?
Yes.
How did I guess that?
It did not have any control options.
Somebody else did in the chat too.
Yeah.
Josh is on the Hourglass guessed it too.
Yep. So to capture all this stuff, I had to play non-inverted because there was no way to invert. Like I didn't know. I mean, there's probably a way to do it if I knew the dev controls, but it's all in-house stuff, so I didn't know how to do that, and nobody was answering emails, so I just like dealt with it.
Yeah.
So I spent like 10 hours capturing footage with non-inverted controls, and I came home. And I'm actually pretty sure I came home and played Black Flag. I think Black Flag was going at the time, and I came home and I lit up Black Flag, and I couldn't play it inverted. Like my brain had flipped.
Really?
And I was like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I was doing the wrong way.
Yeah.
And over the course of like an hour, like my brain resettled into inverted. But it proved to me like if I wanted to,
I could do it.
I could retrain myself to be
Yeah.
non-inverted. But fuck that.
That's who you are. I hear you. Let's check in with chat. Now that you guys have had a chance to play it, let's see what you guys are saying about it. As always, go at SIFTD Games in chat so we can find if you guys want to speak with us. Everyone talking about Game Informer being read. I'm surprised so many people are excited about that or talking about it. Mighty Pony Girl, Matt, where do you rank it against one half of Syndicate?
I like it better than Syndicate. I wish it was more of a departure in terms of how the grappling hook works, but at least you can use it anywhere on the edge of a roof and not on specific points.
One point. Yeah.
And there's nothing as annoying as having to cross the Thames in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does have a similar thing in that, like, Syndicate had narrative points where I was just like, get on with it, and like I've been that way a little bit in this game. I also don't. I talked to you about this already, but it was like, and I know Assassin's Creed has done this from the beginning, but I think it's very weird that they always give the accents of the area to the characters voiced in English in these games, because aren't I supposed to be a native speaker? Wouldn't everyone not have an accent? Like,
yeah, I grapple with the inclusion of English in this. I was like,
and most of this seems to just be I mean, if you listen to interviews with the voice actors, it's mostly just Asian actors who sound like that's because they all. I wonder if they also did the Japanese voice tracks in a lot of cases.
Maybe. Yeah.
But like, and there is an immersion mode where everybody is locked into speaking Japanese and Portuguese, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of their equivalent of the black and white mode from Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
But I just think, and I guess early on, I explained it to myself as like, well, maybe like Desmond has some like latent stereotypes, and that's why Ezio sounds a little bit like Mario in his head, right? Because he's the one plugged into the Animus.
Right.
But you're kind of a generic you in the Animus now. Mm-hmm. And the thing about this one that makes me think about it more is that Yasuke is not a native speaker.
Right.
So to him, everybody would kind of sound like they had accents, even though he's hearing Japanese and he's speaking Japanese. Maybe they'd sound different to him.
Yeah.
Whereas like Naue is a native Japanese speaker, so technically everyone she hears should sound like they have no accent,
right.
And everyone Yasuke hears should have an accent.
Yeah.
Except really the accent should be him because he's the one speaking Japanese with presumably some kind of Portuguese African accent.
Yeah.
And he does have an accent.
Yeah.
But it's weird that you code everybody that way. And again,
it's
they've
a very
always done that.
complicated thing to consider.
I mean, I even thought of that in like, Odyssey. It's weird that everybody's Greek and everyone's going around acting like a Greek stereotype and like everyone sounds like your Greek mother and like saying Malacca. Okay, are you? I mean, it's sort of like how now I keep using that one. I don't know what the word is. It's a Japanese term of endearment for a father, which she doesn't use for him in the Japanese track, by the way.
Guichue or something.
Chichue or something. Yeah, I don't know. But it's like, what is that? Like, there's points where I need subtitles on these guys because like I don't fully. The accents are pretty thick.
It's a complicated question.
It is.
So. I'm giving Yubi a little bit of leeway on this. I don't know how I would have handled it if I was the one making that decision. It's not cut and dried, and with all the cultural stuff going on around this game, I'm sure that made it harder to figure out.
But I think I guarantee you can find Japanese American or Japanese Canadian. I don't know where they recorded this. Japanese American, Japanese Canadian actors who do not have accents. So I'm wondering if they had them do accent, because some of them clearly
they may be doing it.
Some of them clearly the accents are just their speaking voices
right.
in English. But like some of it's just like because they've always done that in Assassin's Creed. Every Assassin's Creed has the accent of the location.
Yeah.
It's not like they did that just for this one.
Right.
But for this one, I think about it more because Yasuke is like not a native speaker, so it's like what is he hearing versus what is she hearing? I don't know. It's a
complicated.
It's a presentational thing that I'm just like I've never fully agreed with in the series, and this one kind of highlights it more than ever to me. And like Like when we do the Salem one, is everyone gonna talk like Boston?
That'd be awesome, actually.
Do we not forget that that's also where all the Lovecraft shit takes place?
Right.
And Eldritch Horror from Beyond the Stars.
Yeah.
Remember, in all the Cthulhu shit, everyone should sound like Peter Griffin.
Right. Retro Modern Gamer says they need to sell off Tom Clancy stuff because they don't do anything with it besides Rainbow Six, but that's only a multiplayer game. Well, I mean, look, they have The Division. There's tons of games. They've just...
People forget The Division's still going.
Yeah. Well, because Division 2 is now like 6 years old or whatever.
Did they say anything about a new Ghost Recon?
No.
Has there been leaks about that or anything?
Not that I've seen.
Just Breakpoint scared them all the way off that, huh?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wildlands franchise was selling like crazy.
And Breakpoint wasn't terrible. It just wasn't great. Very great.
Yeah.
It's just like, but it's not like the concept that they were using, that Wildlands established, was a bad idea.
Yeah. Yep. Erebus Jones, Valhalla was also a current gen launch title and probably the only game worth getting on Series X at the time. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, got that to see what their new consoles could do, even though it wasn't built specifically just for those new consoles.
Well, I do remember playing Valhalla on my Xbox One X, and then the Series X showed up, because it was like a week difference or something, and it showed up, and I put that in, the difference in how it ran was so... that was that and Watch Dogs Legion were the two... It was weird. Two Ubisoft games were the most notable jumps in performance on the Series X.
Yeah.
I very specifically remember that.
Ghost of Tsushima or Shadows if you can only play one?
Tsushima. But it's very hard to compare them because they are very different games.
They are same setting.
Like I know they're same setting and they're open world games. Ghost of Tsushima is trying to do a very different thing from this game. It's very hard to compare, and it's even hard to compare. Like it was like, which one looks better? Shadows has technologically vastly superior graphics.
Though.
But Ghost of Tsushima's aesthetics way beyond this.
Yeah, they do more with the art style for sure.
This one, way more varied in terms of tone and what it's doing and the narratives it's telling and the characters it focuses on. Ghost of Tsushima, and I just replayed Tsushima like a few months ago, just because I had nothing else to do, and I'm like, I'm gonna play this on PC. It looks so good.
Yeah.
That game is a dirge. That game is a dark. That game is basically a poem about death from start to finish.
I actually found that game to be
oppressive.
A little boring at times.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be, which is very fun. It's been very funny to me watching people try to disparage this game by saying it's boring and slow, and no one has any expression on their face. I'm like, have you played Ghost of Tsushima? Like, not to disparage Ghost of Tsushima, but everybody's very no-selling it in that game.
I think a lot of people forget.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's like that, and like there's moments in this game where I'm like, I'm looking for paper butterflies. And I was thinking, like, if this was like Ghost of Tsushima, the butterflies would be made out of dead men's skin or some shit. Yeah. There's a lot more levity in this.
I
think the combat in Tsushima is more satisfying. It's just more visceral.
It's more like I think it's more rooted in history than the combat in this.
A little bit, and it's like the clashing feels. I don't know how to
appropriate for the time.
Yeah, and it feels. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels a little more like Devil May Cry. It feels like satisfying.
It just feels more realistic. To me.
When you parry in Ghost of Tsushima, it's. And everyone flies back, and you get that cool kill.
Yeah.
And then in like this one, you get the parry, and it's like, well, you got an opening if you can find it. It's
they're different games.
It's more subtle, but it's just like So I would say combat probably Tsushima wins. Aesthetics, like color usage, Tsushima wins. Everything else, this probably wins. I mean, it's just technologically heading. I mean, one of the things I love in this game is when you get when you're trying to sneak into like a little fort or a little like encampment or something, and you fuck up, and a fight breaks out, and everyone's rolling around and fighting, hitting each other and knocking you, and like the end of it, the camp's just destroyed.
Yeah,
like, you're knocking each other through walls, and you like knock the guy through the tent thing is there, and then he falls through it and it rips the tent apart. Like I'm like the fights cause damage to the area, and like I think that looks really, like in the same way that like you see it in that first trailer where he hits the guy into the thing and all the fruit rolls everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like that happens all the time in this, and
although not as often as you'd think. Like they don't abuse it to the point where you get sick of it.
No, it's not like a base. It's like, okay, it's time to destroy everything around you.
Yeah,
but it's like
the destruction happens, but like the apples specifically and the rolling fruit and stuff, like. I thought every fight there's gonna be fruit rolling all over the place.
But it's enough of a thing that it's like if you're say you're sneaking into a castle and you're in a building and there's a guy in there, you want to make sure you can you screwed up and he saw you, you will literally, I will literally try to fight him in the right direction that he doesn't go near a door, because if he knocks that door down, everyone can see us.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a problem. Like,
yeah.
it's a part of the gameplay considerations,
sure.
and it's really well done. So that was, it is definitely, again, and maybe this is just kind of what's happening this year. I will say, playing Shadows, you feel like you're playing a game that could only have been made this generation.
For sure. Yeah.
And I feel like I've only been saying that for like 6 months at this point. You know?
Thoughts on the out-of-place modern music for the setting?
That is pretty weird. There's a lot more vocal J-rock in this game than I was expecting. I don't mind it.
It's not time appropriate.
No, but the first time it happened, I was like, what?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess so. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's an odd choice.
It's a very odd choice, but it doesn't ruin anything. It does, you know. There's enough.
The music is good.
And
that saves it, honestly.
It is good.
But it is not time appropriate.
No. The other thing about the sound, I would say, is some characters were clearly recorded in a different studio from the other characters they're talking to.
The fidelities.
There have been certain characters.
I actually didn't notice that.
There's a couple characters, Yaya in particular, that one woman, the monk who joins you. A lot of times her dialogue feels like she's speaking right up next to the microphone, and everyone else is mixed in a different room.
Huh. I didn't notice that, actually.
I have definitely noticed some disparity between the mixing on certain voice actors.
That's a problem. It's hard to get things to match.
They needed some Soundwizardry.
I mean, seriously, though, like, that's stuff that Soundwizardry can do. They can match stuff like that. I've tried to do it myself. Forget it, man.
I thought of that when I was a couple scenes that's happened, and I was like, where's the Soundwizardry?
Seriously,
that wouldn't happen if Soundwizardry was there.
You're right. Let's see what else. Mighty Pony Girl Crossing the Thames in Syndicate was like, what if we had a Frogger minigame?
Yeah, Frogger minigame that took forever and was annoying. And
Erebus says,
I'm like, I have this fucking grappling hook and I can't swing over a river. Come on, people.
Erebus Jones says if Tom Clancy were still alive, he would have ripped the license from them for what they chose to do with his name in the game since he died. I don't agree with that.
What did he do? What did they do?
I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe they just haven't put him out as often since he died. Because it used to be literally at least one Tom Clancy game every year.
He couldn't rip the license from him because he sold it to him.
He's saying that, he's just saying, I think.
Tom Clancy wouldn't be happy about it? Like, well, too bad you don't sell me.
Then he'll sell it.
I don't know. Were they too liberal for him? Did they not have ghostwriters do everything since Rainbow Six? Is that...
Commander Fett, how do you like how dense the forests are? Did you watch my polished review? I made a point to mention the forests in this game. I think it's AI. I think they use AI to build a lot of the forests.
They use procedural for sure.
And it just...
But they've always... I mean, Skyrim used the same thing.
It just went overboard. Like, there's some parts of the frontier in this where you literally can't see anything. It's just green leaves coming at you for like 10 minutes.
I mean, I kind of appreciate that because that's what that's what
it's real.
Looks like.
Yeah.
And the fact that they let you go through it.
They don't stop you.
You don't stop you. It's not a barrier. That's another difference between that and Tsushima is like there have been. In fact, sometimes early on I had to break out of the Tsushima mindset because there are things where I see like foliage and I'm like, well, I can't go there.
Right.
And it's like, no, you can.
You can now.
You can absolutely go. In fact, if you don't go there, they're going to see you, dumbass. Like, so get in there.
Noxhater Nida says you can even throw kunai through the paper doors. You can do a bunch of stuff through the paper doors.
Oh,
yeah. But you have to unlock it, which is a little weird, I thought.
Yeah, but it's right there at the beginning.
Yeah.
It is a little weird that you have to learn how to do it. It's like, yeah, maybe
I can't stab
at no point in 18 years of ninja training did anyone say, oh, by the way, you can stab through that.
Seriously.
I want to put that one together on your lonesome after your father died, apparently.
Threadzilla, I'm thoroughly enjoying this game. Very weird to see the mixed reception in the industry.
It got pretty good reviews.
I mean, I thought its Metacritic was low based upon what I played, but
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if games like that get dinged a little bit by people who have to do this for a living because they're like you. It's like, oh my God, it's a 50-hour game. Even if I don't do any of the side stuff, how am I going to get this done in time for a deadline?
I'll put it to you this way. Like, I was busting ass to get through this game, and I had 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're working at a site, you're getting dragged into meetings, like 2 or 3 meetings every day. Like, you have to go and work during the day. Like, I was able to find 4 hours here, 2 hours there. But if you're spending 10 hours a day at work every day, that's 10 hours out of your day right there that you're not playing the game. Like, so yeah, like, it gets intense, man. There's lots of times when I worked at game trailers where I was up the night before embargo until like 4:30 in the freaking morning, capturing footage and writing my review. I'd sleep 3 or 4 hours, go into the office, take all the stuff in there, sit with an editor, go over notes for the review and be like, here's my notes, here's the clips, blah, blah, blah. Go home and sleep for like 3 hours, come back in afternoon to check in on the edit. Like, that's the life, you know? Like, that is, I mean, to be fair.
And for what?
Right. People know what you're signing up for with this job. Like, it's not a secret that that's the way it is. But this job is not as glamorous as you think it is, man. That's all I'm going to say. There are some nights where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? It's hard to write, and you try to talk to people who don't understand it. Like my buddies in Philly, when I go home for the fantasy draft, they're like, so what do you do? Like, I start walking them through, and they were just like, are you fucking kidding me? Because they all work jobs where, like, they show up at 9. They take lunch at 11:30. They come back from lunch at 12:30. They work until 5. They get on the train. They go home. They have their whole night to do whatever the hell they want. Like, their jobs are 40 hours a week, and they complain if they work a 45-hour week. I'm like, bro, that would be the shortest week I've worked in my entire career. Like, that's just not the way it is. But again, it's something that you know when you take this job. It's part of the job. You're going to have to do your day job, and at night you're going to have to play the games and write. And that's just the way it is. So, you know when you get in this industry, the deal that you're making with yourself. And either you can deal with it or you can't. And I think more importantly, Matt, either your significant other can deal with it or they can't. Like, I am so thankful for my wife. Like, she is just totally cool with what I'm doing with my life and my career. There's a lot of people that aren't like that. Like, I've been with other girls that try to control you and try to turn you into what they want you to be. That's why I married this girl, because she wasn't like that. But still, a lot of people are with significant others that are that way. They're always trying to bend them to their will and change them. And that is, if you're in this position, doing this job, and you have somebody like that as your significant other, good luck. That's all I can say. It will not last. Either your job won't last, or your relationship won't last. And that's the truth of it. So, it's not for everybody. Everyone is like, oh, you just play games for a living. I wish that's all I did. That would be awesome if all I did was play games. That'd be great. Instead, I'm doing all this other stuff, trying to squeeze in the gameplay time when I can. And to your point, Matt, it's happening to everybody that works in this industry. Even 2 weeks is not enough time for a 50-hour, 60-hour game. It's just not. I mean, that you figure 60 hours of just playing in 2 weeks, that's 30 hours a week just to playing the game. And you're also working your job for 50, 60 hours. It's, again, not for the faint of heart.
And you're never going to get paid properly.
Nope, you're going to get paid crap. That's the truth of it all. You have to really love it, man. That's all there is to it. You have to really, really love it.
Man, that is a crazy hold right there.
What?
It was up. You missed it. They held Sanuku's comment for bullying because he abbreviated Game of the Year as GOI.
What is that?
GOI? Goy.
What is goy?
Goyim, like a non-Jewish person.
Oh, I've never even heard that phrase before, that term
That's
before.
a Yiddish phrase for someone who's not a Jew.
Oh.
But it's like, wow, that is a sensitive filter right there, sirs.
Twitch is pretty aggro about that stuff. And like, look, we're pretty aggro about it too,
oh, yeah.
But they go way beyond us. Like, we want everybody to respect everybody. Sometimes you go a little too
this
far.
is like one of those filters back in the day that like you'd say like as someone and it would flag it for saying ass.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, like clearly.
Yeah. Congrib1 asks, since the last one we'll take, do you think Ghost of Tsushima set high expectations for this setting that may have influenced current overall scores?
Maybe. I have a hard time believing anyone who does this for any length of time is going to sit down and play this game and refuse to acknowledge that it's clearly not the same game as Tsushima in really any respect.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
same setting, but very different.
Right. It's just not. They're just not attempting to do the same things at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think comparing them is really all that useful.
I think
I know that's the question.
Probably helps. But.
Right, but I know that question is like one everyone has been asking because it's like just it seems like a natural question. But all I can say is like I promise you these are not really related to each other. Yeah. I mean, they're even separated by about 300 years.
Right, yeah. But I think most people will play it and think it's the same exact time period.
That said, I will not be surprised if Yote gets higher review scores than this.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch.
In part because I think Tsushima's a more accessible game.
Maybe.
In a weird way. Like
both these games coming out within 8 or 9 months of each other, kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, because like again, they are very, very different. But I don't know if that perception
most people
is
will.
Yeah. I don't know if you
be like, I'm cool with ancient Japan once a year.
Yeah, because it's like I don't know if you're gonna pick up on that in time.
Right.
But until you play them, and once you play them, you've made your choice, right?
Yeah. PlayStation fans will buy it, though. It'll do fine.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm certainly in.
Yeah, me too.
But
it better do well. It's on my fantasy team. I had both those games on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, let's just one last look. Henry Pumpkins, thank you for Twitch Prime.
They can't all be split fiction.
Squishy says, I think Yote will overshadow it.
Okay.
Okay.
At least Shadows came out and it didn't ghost us.
Yeah, I'm surprised there weren't more opinions from you guys in chat about the game. It seemed like most of you guys haven't been playing it, seems like. Kind of surprising. But anyway, there you go.
I can imagine this is a game that you don't pick up until you're ready for it.
Yeah. And at this point,
a lot of big stuff has already come out.
Yeah.
People are already playing a bunch. I mean,
Split Fiction just came out as a Game of the Year contender too.
I've never finished Avowed.
Right. Yeah, I haven't finished Avowed yet either, and I'd like to.
Yeah.
How is it that we
keep trying?
I know. There's so many great games. If you listen to everybody else, there aren't any great games, Matt. Mm-hmm. It's so weird.
Indiana Jones is about to come out again.
Yeah, again.
If you haven't played that yet,
most critics did seem to agree that game was great at least.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you haven't played that yet, if you didn't have an Xbox or PC for
and that was just December.
Coming up, like.
It's also a pretty big game.
You don't want to miss
too.
that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's move on. Next, we're going to talk about, and I hinted at this earlier, Matt, about how there was a game in this show that we had reviewed before,
right.
And it is Xenoblade Chronicles X. I went back and I found our review. It was in GameFace episode 32. So one of your first ever, not first ever, but pretty close to you had just started being a host on the show.
I've been doing that for about 16 weeks.
At that point. And it was very interesting to watch that episode because it was also 2015, and the Wii U had already failed, basically, and we were trying to figure out when Nintendo's next console was coming. Because we're like, man, this has failed so miserably, they should fast-track it. And you were, 100% sure that Switch was... We didn't know it had Switch yet.
Right.
But you were 100% sure that Nintendo's next thing or whatever was coming in 2016. And I was like, I think it's 50-50. And as it turns out, it did come out in 2017. But it's just interesting, us talking about, Nintendo's situation at the time. The other thing I didn't realize, or remember really, was that Xenoblade Chronicles X was, Nintendo's last chance to try to save the Wii U.
It was their last big exclusive, yeah.
It had been,
Was Tokyo Mirage Sessions after that or before it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think... Because that was delayed a couple times.
Because that was also that was given the deluxe treatment too, but it never had a chance to break out.
Yeah, I mean that game definitely didn't have a chance. No. I mean it was just too
that's
odd
why
for
I can't
the West.
Remember.
But Xenoblade Chronicles 1 had been delayed a couple times, and Nintendo had put a big marketing push behind it, and then we played it, and we talked about it on GameFace episode 32.
And I was very excited because I loved the first one, and then this one was like, what is this?
I have a question for you, though.
So different.
Do you remember, for you personally, what the significance was of Xenoblade Chronicles X? There was something very big related to you related around this game. Do you remember it?
No.
You bought a Wii U for this game.
Oh, right, because I bought it because I bought the Wii U on Black Friday, the previous November, in preparation because I knew I was going to need one for that. Because that game was supposed to come out that holiday season, originally got delayed, right?
I don't think so.
No?
You had just bought the Wii U when we were recording episode 32 because you were talking about
That's not true. I bought it in November. I bought it on Black Friday the November before.
Because you were talking about how you hadn't figured out how to stack it yet with your other consoles in your entertainment center. And I told you to just put the tablet on top of the console and slide it sideways.
Probably because I hadn't barely used it.
Maybe.
At that point.
Yeah, but anyway.
No, I bought it at 2 a.m. at Target on Black Friday after Thanksgiving because they had a sale on it. It was the bundle with Splatoon and Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
But I think you're almost certainly correct. I'm sure you're correct that the reason I got it because I knew I was going to need it for Xenoblade Chronicles.
You said it. You said you bought your Wii U to play Xenoblade Chronicles.
I 100% believe that was what pushed me, and then I decided to just get the bundle that had Smash Brothers because fuck it.
Yeah.
And because it was cheaper that day, and then I brought it home and it had dead pixels in the fucking gamepad.
Right.
And I had to bring it back later that day anyway, so it didn't even help me to go there at 2 a.m.
It is crazy, though, that we are at the point now with SIFTD and GameFace that games are being remastered that we originally reviewed at SIFTD and on GameFace. We've lasted for the 10 years, and now we're at this point where we can go. It was funny. I just went and watched our discussion about this from 10 years ago, and I played this new definitive edition for 7 hours, maybe something like that. and I didn't need to play anymore. Like, I got to experience all the changes and tweaks that they had made to it, and realized that a lot of the complaints I had about it 10 years ago still exist today. And my biggest complaint about it back then was that it was made for 12 and 13-year-old boys, and I was an adult, and that it was like a...
It is very much it's like a syndicated afternoon anime.
Yeah, it really is. It's really like a teenage fantasy is what it is. I also remembered that the localization was not great. We talked about that 10 years ago. That's not something that they fixed in this new version.
No, I believe it's the same voice acting.
Yeah, and it's still really bad and wooden. The other thing that we complained about 10 years ago was that it was a very complicated game with a lot of systems that go unexplained. Like, they don't explain to you how things work. They just kind of throw you into the deep end and let you figure it out on your own, which some people may like that.
I mean, they have a tutorial thing that pops up for almost everything, but they don't actually explain anything very well.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone back and looked through, like, playing this, I've gone back and looked through, like, the little help thing, and I'm like, I found the help thing on the thing I was asking a question about, and I'm like, I still don't know the answer to the thing that I was confused about. Like, you didn't actually explain anything.
Yeah. The other thing that I complained about specifically was grinding. That there was a lot of grinding in this game. And that episode, I declared JRPG grinding dead. I was like, that's it. It's dead.
Oh,
nobody
sweet
wants
summer child.
I was like, nobody wants this anymore. I'm like, it's done. It's dead. Nobody wants grinding. And I was obviously wrong on that one. It is interesting watching these old episodes and figuring out.
Now, to be fair, that is the biggest change in this game.
Yeah.
Because they got rid of a huge amount of the grind.
They really did. And then we also taught one thing we did say 10 years ago about this game is that while the systems are very deep and complex, because the game is so long, the game actually needs them to be that complex.
Yeah, it needs something like that to sustain.
Because otherwise, you just get tired of it after 20 hours. Yeah. And the game does, over 70 hours, like, unveil new stuff to the player, which most games don't do these days, although I think Assassin's Creed Shadows is pretty good at that as well. We also complained about the fact that you don't get a mech until you're like 20 hours into the game.
Oh, way longer than that.
And it's like the first thing that they show you at the beginning. It's like, look at all these awesome mechs.
I mean, it's on the cover. It is the cover is the fucking mech, and it takes 30 hours to get it still takes 30 hours to get that mech, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, the grind is much better now, but it still takes forever to get the damn mech.
Yep. And then another thing that I pointed out was, like, there's no way to bring in your Wii U save, unfortunately, because Nintendo back then didn't have, like... They didn't save your stuff.
I wouldn't even know what to do anymore.
Right.
My Wii U is still hooked up. I almost loaded up my old save to see where I was.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck it.
That'll just turn you off from playing the new one.
I'd have to go all the way in the other room. I'm not going to do that.
If you don't remember this game, because, again, the original came out 10 years ago, the basic setting or the basic plot is that Earth dies. There's like an alien war that takes place on Earth. Humans get caught in the middle. They try to escape in these arc ships. Most of them get shot down. Luckily, yours does not. You think you've escaped. You're flying through space looking for a place to land. The aliens find you and attack you. Your ship crash lands on this planet called Mira, and you start trying to basically reconstruct Earth on this planet Mira. So much so that, like, the main area that you are in is called New Los Angeles.
Yeah, because your ship came from Los Angeles.
Right.
So theoretically, all the people in this game are Americans.
Yep. And that's the plot. Like, you're in this area on this planet and you're trying to, like, get humanity back on its feet again, and you have, like, a little fake, like, rodeo drive with, like, where did the palm trees come from for that?
Yeah, they brought them with them. They do actually get into the thing, like, that one of the things that you're trying to do over the course of the game as a sub objective is to basically find all these, like, pieces of the ship that fell down.
Yeah.
And a lot of them actually have, like, seed repositories, and it's like, 3 of them have the entire Library of Congress in them.
No.
Like there's 3 pieces of the life hold, and there's like 6, 7, 8, or like I think it's like 7, 8, and 9 all have or 6, 7, 8, and 9 have the 4 quarters of the Library of Congress. I'm like, I could put the Library of Congress on a flash drive in my pocket right now.
Seriously.
So I don't know what you're doing in 2050 that you had to split that up across all these things.
There's all kinds of stuff like that in this game, where if you think about it, it's like, what? You just got to turn your brain off when you play this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the contrivances are similar to the ones in the other Xenoblade games, but, like, the fact that they've connected this one directly to Earth and the other ones so this one, like, no one really ever understood how this connected to the rest of the series, because the other games seem to take place on fantasy worlds and, like, the first one takes place on a world that grew on top of two giant monster god things that like, and so like no one really understood what that was. So there was a cliffhanger on this game, and they have added post-game content that does apparently explain better what this has to do with the other games.
No.
So this was intended to be some part of me. I mean, a lot of people believe it's a prequel. I don't know what the ending is. I don't know what. I've never finished.
I didn't finish it.
I never finished the Wii U game. I don't really know how this can. Apparently, this version, the definitive version, has new content that supposedly connects it more directly to the other games.
So there's the first scene. So what happens is like when your ship is crashing, a bunch of pods get sent out from the ship that have people in them. And your pod survives. Most of them don't.
This is the plot of Beast Wars, by the way.
You're right, it is actually. And the crazy part is you come out of your pod and you're all messed up. You're basically drunk. You've been in stasis all this time. And you have you can't stand up. You can't see straight. You've forgotten who you are and what your name is. And then the girl hands you a gun.
It's like, here's a gun and some beef jerky. Let's go.
I mean, this whole game's like that, man. It's insane. You're just
very,
like, what?
That is very silly. I mean, they're all like that. All the Xenoblade has always been that to some degree.
The writing and the voice acting are terrible, just horrible. The facial animation is terrible, even in this upgraded, improved version. And this game is.
I don't think they've changed any of that.
They didn't. This does look significantly better than the Wii U version.
It's very sharp. I mean, look, this is the worst of the series.
Yeah.
Well, I probably actually like this a little more than 2 because at least this doesn't have your weapons don't turn into hot girls with their boobs hanging out.
Right.
In this
I mean,
one.
To be fair, all their games have these similar issues.
A little bit, but 2 is
egregious.
Beyond, above and beyond. And in fact, on this one, I don't think they changed the facial expressions, but I do think they added butt jiggle physics to the octopus alien lady. I really think that was added. I don't know. I'm not for sure. Not 100%. But in the first scene she shows up, she walks past the camera, and I'm like, did they add physics to her ass? I think they did.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that.
Squishy Muffin's upset by us saying 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It'd make you feel old, won't it?
2015 is a long time ago.
Yeah, look, I just watched an episode of me from 10 years ago where I was about 30 pounds lighter than I am right now. And I was like,
you were real skinny when we started doing this.
I had just finished the Insanity workout when we started doing this. I was in the best shape of my life when I started SIFTD. And just slowly, over the 10 years.
This is what it does to you.
Seriously. I mean, I am a case study of what this vocation will do to you.
Sanuku confirms that ass was already wobbling in the Wii U version. Okay, so as long as I wasn't imagining it, because I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me if I'm not?
Yeah. Now, the combat in this game is still unique. Still
unique. I think it's like 2 and 3 kind of, this is still the same kind of combat where it's sort of pseudo real-time MMO kind of style.
Yeah.
And your companions will call out stuff and highlight certain colors of abilities, and if you use it at the right time, everybody gets some health back, and you get a stronger version of what you do.
A little quick time event pops up.
Quick time event will top. If you instigate that, you get a quick time thing, and then they'll do it. If they say it, the little color-coded thing pops up, and you choose it.
And you get like a health boost.
But in 2 and 3, you can combo that stuff to infinity and beyond, and in this one, it's just once, basically.
It's still a unique and kind of cool battle system.
It's not bad.
It's like you just have to be within range of the enemy and pull out your weapon, and then your character auto attacks with either a gun or a melee weapon, and then you tap left or right on the D-pad to cycle through your arts, which are your special abilities. And as they cool down, you just hit the A button, and that's it, pretty much.
But you have to use the ones of the right color at the right time to get the maximum out of them.
It can be hard to you're fiddling. You're like, oh, I want to, and next thing you know, one of those things, the quick time event will pop up. You can't get your thumb on the button in time.
Well, then they get harder so your morale level is the little meter under the left side of the thing there, and that fills up every time you successfully do one of the quick time events, and every time it fills up, it gets faster. So when you're maxed out on morale, you have a lot of combat bonuses, but it's much harder to nail that QTE, and that can lose your morale, and now you don't have the combat bonus. So there's a balance there. One of the frustrations of this combat system, especially this one in compared to the other ones, because there's only one way to combo. You can't. In the other games, there's ways to combo off. If someone starts a combo and one of your other characters, picks that combo up, then you can combo off that second character. That doesn't happen here. It's just whoever does it. And so if no one's going to do it, then you just won't get that bonus. And if you've already used your ability, you're waiting on the cooldown, so you just maybe you don't have any orange abilities to use. Like right there, you saw that. The best addition, the second best. First, the best addition is the removal of the grind. The best addition to this game, and you don't get it until I think chapter 3 or maybe chapter 2. There's another bar on the right side under the arts. It's a green bar, and if you hit the Y button on an art that is still cooling down, it will instantly use it. It skips the cooldown, so you can always and it refills between every fight, so you can always have that there in case you've already used the thing you need to combo with, and then just get a free combo from it, and it makes the combat 10 times better.
One thing I hope they do with Switch 2 is they name their buttons like every other damn controller.
They'll never do that.
Like, put the A where the frickin' A is supposed to be.
No, they will not.
I know they won't.
That's how Nintendo works.
It's infuriating.
Ever since the NES, they've always been backwards.
Here's a quick rundown of all the stuff that's improved for the definitive. Well, not everything, but a lot of it. You can now select party members from a freaking menu instead of having to run around New Los Angeles which is just, I can't believe they ever designed it that way originally. Party members outside of the group will get XP now. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. You had to level them up individually before, and there was like 20 of them.
Yeah, yep. And now the quests are a lot smarter. So once you take on a quest, say you need a specific X number of this resource, X number of this resource, it will tell you exactly where to go to get those resources.
Yeah, before you had to just be like, it's somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Go out. Or sometimes they tell you the continent.
I'd just forget about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, okay, I guess I'll never...
you would never know unless you checked your mission list.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I guess I need to find that, which basically meant Googling a list of where everything was online because there was no way to know.
Yep, there's autosave now.
Lots of autosave.
Again, that's a huge freaking deal. As you can see, watching the B-roll, the visuals have been enhanced pretty significantly. There's a new story chapter. You have the ability to change party members on the fly, as I said. Along with this new story content, there's 4 new characters that you can add to your party. For now, there's a total of 22 potential party members throughout the entire game. There's 2 new skells, mechs in the game that weren't in the original. And then there were like these specific levels that like they completely removed. Where you had to like run around and do all this crazy crap to like solve them, and now they're just missions.
They're basically I can't remember what they're called. They're not. You have classes, which are like your combat class, but then there was also basically roles you chose in the organization you're in. You're the Blades, and so like you could be the Reclaimers, and they didn't really matter. Like it didn't change what you did or the missions or the story. It had no impact on anything except your Reclaimers are supposedly the ones that go out and find debris and reclaim resources. Pathfinders are supposed to go out and plant the probes and break new ground, and Interceptors are supposed to defend the city against. And really, you could pick one of the. I can't remember what the name of the. But
they were the division-related tasks.
Divisions, that's what it was. And you got division points.
Yep.
As you played as one of those in those divisions. Like if I was an Interceptor, like doing combat and completing quests and whatever, and doing certain quests that were for that division would get me Interceptor division points. Yeah. And that would level you up in that, which would let you do other quests that were for Interceptors. And it was the biggest fucking grind. And you had to do every one of them individually.
Right. You also had to do them or it wouldn't let you take on the main missions in the game.
Yeah, you had to be this level of this and this level of that before the main mission would unlock. And so you're talking about, no kidding, 10 hours of grind sometimes just to unlock the next main story mission.
And it's all gone.
And that's all gone.
You don't have to worry about division choice at all
The divisions
anymore.
are purely cosmetic. Every single thing is unlocked to you at all times.
Yep.
You do not have to do that. The only thing you have to level up are your skill, the character level, and the class level.
Yeah. The field skills now that you were getting from that division stuff, now you just get those via normal quests.
Yeah. You pick them up through that, or you pick them up through completing different zones. It's very easy. You get them through the affinity missions usually.
Yep. And that's it for the additions to the game. Obviously, a huge improvement over the original.
Revolutionizes what it's like to play the thing.
But I didn't think the game was great 10 years ago, and I don't think it's great now either. I struggled to keep playing this.
I'll a secret. I played this more than I played Assassin's Creed this week.
Really?
Yeah.
You do love Xenoblade.
Because, I don't really love this one. it's just easier to play because it's so fucking mindless.
Yeah.
I was sitting like
you don't have to do anything. You can, as long as you pull your weapon out and get close to a monster.
Well, as long as they're not above your level. Because it is the MMO thing where, like, you're walking around that early levels, and it's like, okay, everybody's like level 10. Oh, there's a level 85 guy
up on the hill there. Yeah.
And he's got the eyeball symbol, so if he sees you, he's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The thing about this one, so the one thing I think this one does better than all the other Xenoblades is the world. The world feels like a place, and there's like these herds of these weird alien monsters running around. You'll come around a corner, and a brontosaurus alien the size of a building will just walk by. Like, it's like, it really feels like running around an alien world in the way that, like, kind of exploring Pandora felt in the Avatar game.
How do you feel about killing the innocent creatures in this versus Monster Hunter? Because it is a very Monster Hunter-y vibe in this game.
Well, because, like, you don't really have to kill anyone that's not attacking you.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's like, oh, we got to kill these things because you need that one resource or whatever. But usually the resource hunts are for the random little crystal things that happen to be one of 4,000 different items. Yeah. Some of which are very strangely named. Like, you don't notice it because you're just picking them all up and the little names are. But one thing I picked up the other day was called a fraudulent mirror. And I'm like, I don't even have a theory on what that is. So yeah, it's it doesn't really bother me because most of the things I fight are the things that are aggressive. Yeah. Like, it's something, and you can just run around almost anything in this. Yeah. Like, the only time
you run really fast in this game.
The only time you run really fast and you jump really high. Yeah. Like, I think gravity is less on this planet.
Right. Yeah.
But you don't really have to fight too much that you don't want to, and the only stuff you really get stuck on fighting is when the path narrows, and a lot of times those things are just going to kill you instantly. So you're like, how am I supposed to get her? Steph Sterling did a whole video on how annoyed she got by, like, how, like, it would get you, like, there's leveled like 12 quests where you're running around fields with like level 35 enemies, and like technically you can avoid them and get the stuff you need and get out. But every once in a while, it's like easy. It's like an MMO. Like, you're just hoping that you don't pull aggro.
Yeah.
And you don't have anyone to help you.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of kind of annoying. I get it. It's irritating. But, like, I don't know. Like, it's not terrible.
I would tell you to buy other Xenoblade games before this one.
I would definitely say 1 and 3 are way better than this.
Definitely 3. Way better than this.
I still would say 1 is the best one. The definitive, the Switch version of 1 is still the best game in the series in terms of the balance of everything. I think they're all worth playing for the most part. This one's just weird. I am pretty impressed by how they managed to condense the map system that was, like, so integral to the gamepad into the just general menu system here. And
the map's great in this.
You really don't notice it.
It really is great.
It's better than using the gamepad.
Yeah, you're right. That is one thing I would mention, is the map is way better in this.
Like, you would never know this was a gamepad game before. Like, they integrated everything pretty well.
Yeah, it just shows how pointless the gamepad
pretty much, yeah.
So you would recommend people buy this?
If you've already played the other 3 and, like, you want something that's like a world to explore kind of thing, and you don't mind how, because again, this is very different from the others because it's sci-fi, it's sci-fi gunplay. It's not like, weird fantasy magitech stuff. It's not like that. There's no magic spells in this. There's no it's not this, as people were very confused.
It's melee and guns. Game came out.
And it has the music that some of the music in this game is a choice, especially the town themes are like this weird, like, drum beat driven vocal, like, pseudo warbly jazz rock thing. And it's like, you pick this to play all the time, every time I'm running around town. This is something, and, like, it gets stuck in your fucking head, and you run it, and then there's a section of it where it gets quiet, and then, like, you think it's done, and it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, oh, fuck you! Like,
there's an ad right now that's running on all the podcasts where it's like the whole joke is mixing death metal with smooth jazz and EDM. And the song that they made for that commercial sounds like the music in this game. It is just abysmal. It's
like, there are people, like, the threads on this game you see, and, like, people talking about this game, you see, it's like, oh, best soundtrack. I'm like, I do not believe anyone likes this soundtrack unironically. I
don't either.
It has to be because it's such an obnoxious thing to include in a game like this.
Because you actually notice it because it's so bad.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's points where you can't hear what anyone's saying because the fucking music's too loud.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would struggle to tell somebody to buy this game, honestly. I would just tell them to buy one of the other ones. I don't think this is, like, and for me, it's not even the top 2 or 3 Xenoblade games.
I mean, look, this is for the people that liked it originally.
And want a game that they've played the other ones.
This is for that guy who emailed every game journalist and gave them instructions on how to review it properly. Did you see that?
I did. Well, you sent it to me. Yeah, I hadn't seen it on my own though until you sent it to me.
Some guy wrote almost every game journalist, emailed them directly with this weird form
diatribe,
letter, like this diatribe about how to not misjudge this game and how to like give it credit for this and that. It's like 3 pages long.
I read it. I thought the guy might be trolling.
No,
just trying to get a rise out of the journalist.
No, I think he's just
that crazy.
That guy.
It's really sad. Although there are worse people in our industry.
100%. Like, that's pretty innocuous in terms of some of the emails I've gotten.
He's pretty innocent compared to a lot of the other ones, so I'll give him a pass. But
I thought it was
very really likes this game.
This got pretty good reviews.
I actually haven't seen any reviews
for it.
It was
like
like
8s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it got pretty good reviews. And
actually, I did see. Like, I saw that some people gave this like a 9 and stuff like that.
I don't. I like it, but I don't
like
it. I mean, like this, I would struggle on on your average game review scale. I would really struggle to go above a 6.5 for this.
Yeah, it's like I can't give scores that high to games I laugh at.
Right. Like, I enjoy this game well enough, and I enjoy it more than the Wii U version because they've streamlined it, gotten rid of the grind.
Better.
It's way better.
Definitely way better.
It's a huge improvement.
No doubt about it. Yep.
And I'm really happy that you can now play all 4 Xenoblade games on one system.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they found a 60 frame per second mode buried in this for the Switch too.
That's
so
right.
That's even great.
Which
better.
I'm wondering if there were other games that have
I
released.
imagine there are.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
So it's a cool.
This is probably going to be the final version of this game.
I would think and hope so. In a lot of ways, you know.
Done.
Like, I cannot imagine. I mean, at some point, I'm sure someone's going to ask for Xenoblade Chronicles X with ray tracing, but we don't need that.
We definitely don't.
It's already too dark most of the time anyway.
Everybody reminded me in chat that Nintendo's never going to switch the buttons.
Never,
I realize that,
gonna
believe me. I'm real aware. Minority Games, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. That's awesome. David Nordic, thank you for Twitch Prime. Userfriendly.exe, thank you for Twitch Prime. But yeah, I would struggle to recommend this to anybody. Even if someone who's already played the Wii U version, I couldn't imagine recommending them to go through this game again.
I mean, there was part of that when I first started it. I'm just like, oh man,
do I want to do this?
One of the reasons I never went back to that is because I knew I wasn't going to be able to remember how to play it anymore. But the one thing I did remember about the game was I never wanted to go through that first 3 hours again. And I wasn't wrong. Like, it was, but like, again, the progression is much better now because the division points are gone.
Yeah.
Like you really feel like if you want to burn through the story, you probably can.
Yeah. Although burn
is a strong word, but I will say, the kind of it's almost like a comedic running joke with people who played this game back in the day, where like you go back to your barracks apartment and the next story mission is the red diamond on the main up on the briefing room thing, and famously you'd go back up there and it was locked.
Yeah.
I have never gone back to my apartment after another story mission and not had the next story mission already available.
Yeah.
Because usually now it's locked mostly from discovery percentage.
Yeah.
And honestly, as long as you're putting the probes down as you go to the different story missions, you are going to get that percentage.
Yeah.
Like
it
on
just
the
works
way,
out
on the way.
organically. Yeah.
So yeah, it's much less. I mean, you are talking about this version of the game probably eliminates 30 or 40 hours of grind.
Yeah. No,
it's not an exaggeration.
That's not an exaggeration.
No.
Yeah. It's very, very much streamlined. So, Xenoblade Chronicles X
really lets you focus on the characters and the writing, where they really shine, and you have to deal with that fucking Nopon motherfucker. Like the fact that they made. I mean, probably said this in the original too. But it's like the fact that he's like really one of the primary characters, the little like Ewok motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, just what do you people think?
That decision,
like those the Nopon are the worst part of all of these games.
Yeah.
And now he's like the worst. The worst Nopon is the worst part of this game, which is the worst Xenoblade game.
Yeah.
So I guess in some ways that's historically worth preserving.
Yeah.
At least there's nothing really of note like stuck on the Wii U anymore. Like this is the last big Wii U game. That needed to make the jump, unless you count like the Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD.
Yeah.
Which I would I would like to see those available.
Yeah.
But in terms of original releases, I think this is the last exclusive that we don't have that isn't like, Devil's Third or something.
Yep. So while Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is far better than the game was released a decade ago, I still can't recommend it to someone 10 years later.
I mean, I probably can't recommend it now because there's so many other things to play.
Yeah.
If you are a Xenoblade...
Well, if you only own a Switch, though, there's not
right,
really.
yeah, true. If you're a Xenoblade fan and you've never played this before, maybe think about it. But I'll tell you this. Wait for the Switch 2, because apparently it's going to run better there.
60 frames per second.
60, and you do notice the 30 frames on it. It's a little chunky.
I've seen a couple hitches here and there.
100%.
It's not as bad as a lot of other
It's
Switch
not bad.
games.
100% playable.
Yeah,
but
it's there.
If you've never played it or you liked it and you're on the fence and you're kind of like, maybe I'll play it again, I don't know. I'd say wait for the Switch 2 and see what that hidden 60 frames per second mode does, because I imagine that'll be a much better experience.
It's a good call.
It might even be cheaper by then. It won't be.
No, it's a Nintendo game.
You can get like $10
It'll take at least 8 years before they take $5 off. All right. We're about to move on to our next topic, but before we do, here's a word from our sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. As we mentioned the last couple of weeks, LS Cream is in a tough spot right now. They are a Canadian company, and they are getting beat up by these stupid tariffs that are going on right now. They need your help right now more than ever. Please go to creamls.com/sifted. That's SIFTD. You can figure out how to get LS Cream there. And again, it's not available everywhere, so you really should probably use that URL. Again, creamls.com/sifted. Punch in your zip code, figure out if you can get it locally. If not, chances are you can probably still get it shipped to you. So again, go to creamls.com/sifted. LS Cream, made by sifters, made by gamers. Support your fellow gamers. Support LS Cream. They're in a tough position right now. Hopefully they'll be rescinded soon. But if they aren't, they could be in a tough position for a while. So please help and support them if you can. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about a game that I didn't think I would be talking about in this week's episode because I didn't even think I was going to play it. And I was like, why not? I'll give it a go. It's a small download. It won't take that long. And then I started playing it, and I became hopelessly addicted to it. Have you played this, Matt?
No, I stuck to my principles on this one. I didn't think I was going to play it, and I didn't.
Oh. Why did you not think you were going to play it?
I don't even know what this is.
Oh, okay.
I barely have heard of it, and I keep confusing it with that other Microsoft game that's coming out.
Okay. Well, it's a game called 33 Immortals. It is basically Hades with 32 other players is the best way to put it.
Oh,
so
that makes me want to go home.
Give me a chance. Give me a chance here, Matt. I think I may change your mind on this because I wasn't that into it either. I am a big fan of Hades. I'll just say it right out of the gate. I'm also a big fan of the studio that makes Hades. Greg Kasavin was one of my first bosses in this industry. He was the editor-in-chief at GameSpot when I first started working in the industry at an official publication. I love Greg Kasavin. He's one of my mentors. He helped me become the journalist that I am today. And so I try to help him out whenever I can. And I love the games that they're making over there. However, I think I like this more than Hades, Matt. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it. But being honest with you, I think I like this more than Hades. So the premise of the game is you died. And you're going to hell. You've been condemned by God. But somehow in the midst of the trip from dying to hell, you become a part of this resistance. These people who are kind of caught in purgatory, who are basically telling God to F off. And they're like, no, you're not going to condemn me. I'm going to battle my way through whatever to convince you that I can save my soul. And that's basically the setup for the game. The rest of the game, other than the fact that you're playing with 33 players, plays a lot like Hades. You have this hub that you go to that has all these stations where you can select your weapons, you can select your cosmetics that you attach to your character, you can select like 4 or 5 different things that you attach to your character before you go out and fight. once you go out into the world, there's like 3 different... You can choose to play with 33 players, 22 players, or 11 players. And the less players, the more difficult it becomes. So once you leave that hub world and go through the gateway into the actual gameplay environment, you go into this gigantic map. And on the map, there are these little stations dotted all around it. And basically what you want to do is you want to fight all the rank and file enemies that are just out in the map, kill enough of them, and it will unlock these smaller locations that you can go into, and they turn into like these little horde mode battles, basically. So you're out in the open world with 33 other players. You don't always see everybody else because the map is gigantic. And you can go to the map and you can see where everybody is if you want to catch up and play with other players. Or you can go off on your own on the map in the corner and just fight stuff on your own if you want to. But the bottom line is you need to defeat enough enemies to unlock the smaller areas where you go inside and then fight this horde mode. And then if you do win the horde mode, that's when you get the big prizes. You go back to base, rinse and repeat. This is the base right here that you're seeing right now. And you just keep rinsing and repeating. It is a roguelite, so as you play, you earn new abilities. As you kill enemies, they drop these currencies, basically. You pick them up, you can go to stations, and you can level up your character in 3 different categories. There's like attack power, health, and then I think maybe the third one controls your magic. I'm not 100% sure. Here, and then you can see perks are also something that you assign yourself when you're back at the base. And as you play, you'll unlock new perks. There's also another guy that gives you cosmetics that you can use that also give you different abilities and things like that. And so you gear yourself up back at home base, then you go out into the field and you put it into action. And so, like I said, you can choose to play it by yourself if you want to. It's very hard, though, to play it by yourself because there's so many enemies. You can get attacked from every direction, basically. So the best thing to do is try to team up with other players. Now, the thing is that once you've unlocked one of those gates that I talked about, only 6 players can go in and fight the horde mode together. So there is this thing that happens. You're rolling around with a crew of 10 or 12 players. You've unlocked the gate. You go to the gate to try to get in. They're called torture chambers. You go to the torture chamber, and there's more people that want to go into that torture chamber than there are spots in the torture chamber. And it does turn into this little kind of a weird race to claim one of the spots so you can go in and fight through the torture chamber with the other players. But that's the flow of the game. You run around the map. You can do whatever you want. You can join up with whoever you want of those 33 players that are out on the map. And you fight enemies together. As you defeat them, more gates open up to the torture chambers. You go and complete the torture chambers. Those reward you with big time stuff, and you go back to the home base to cash all that stuff in and power up and go on another run if you want to. And it is Hades, but cooperatively with 32 other players.
It really feels like they should be paying Supergiant some royalties or something. This is so clearly just Dante's Inferno done with Hades.
It's shameless, man.
It really
is. It is shameless. I agree. I felt a little dirty playing this game. I'm not going to lie. Another thing that happens when you go back is there's all these objectives that you can accomplish. So this girl has feats that you need to accomplish. So once you click on like Rebel Soul 1, it'll take you to a screen that has a list of objectives you need to complete in order to complete the Rebel Soul 1 feat. But then there's also just like boards that are in the hub world. And you go up to those and they just have a list of things. Kill 100 enemies, kill 500 enemies. And when you do that, you get rewards that you can then use to upgrade your weapons at the hub. There's like 4 or 5 different weapons. There's a bow, there's a sword, there's like dual knives. I can't remember what the 4th one is. And you can choose before every run which one you want, and then you can upgrade it right there as well. And that's all upgraded with this stuff when you go back into the hub world and cash it in. But Matt, it is so shameless. Like they couldn't even come up with like their own premise. It's like the same thing. It's like you're dealing with the devil and God and your soul. It's like it is shameless. Like I felt guilty playing this game knowing Greg on a personal level, but the bottom line is it's a great game.
Yeah, well they can get away with the premise because it's just Dante's Inferno.
Right.
I mean it's literally Dante and Beatrice.
Yeah.
So sure. But the art style is even the UI.
Everything. It's everything. But here's one thing I will say is it plays completely differently. Like this combat is more cerebral. Like you have to, it's not just a hack and slash where you just run in and just hacking the living crap out of everybody. You have to be really thoughtful about it and learn the enemy animations, how long it takes them to wind up an attack and then deliver that attack. because you only have like 2 buttons, basically. You have an attack button and a dash button. And the attack button, if you hold it in, it will power up your attacks and do more powerful. But it's all about figuring out the timing. How long does it take for me to wind up that sword and deliver that blow? Am I going to be able to deliver that blow before that enemy, whose animation routine I know, is going to wind up and attack me? It's a little more cerebral and timing based. Like, the other thing too about this, the bow in this game, so you can shoot it and you can power it up, but the arrows go through the enemies, and then you can tap on the PlayStation controller, it would be a triangle. On the Xbox controller, it's Y. And it will bring the arrows back to you and damage enemies on the way. So I found my favorite weapon in this was the bow. Because you can power it up and do one really powerful arrow shot. Or you can spam it and send a bunch of arrows and then hit the triangle button or the Y button. And as long as you've like repositioned yourself so that an enemy is in between you and all the arrows that you've shot, when they come back to you, they will rip through all those enemies. And so it creates this dance where you're like setting the arrows up and then moving around it to get the enemies lined up between you and your arrows that are stuck in the ground, so that when you call them back, they hit the enemies and attack the enemies. So I found myself playing with the bow. Also, it's nice to be able to have a little bit of distance in this game. But it's a very simple game. Again, you have like an attack and you have a dash. And then as you start playing with other characters, you also get this ability. You can see it like in the bottom left there. That meter that's like blue that's only halfway filled. Once it's filled up, you can hit right trigger and it brings up these team attacks that you can do with other players. So it will have you and you're standing on this little circle on the ground, and there will be 2 other circles. And if your teammates go and stand in those circles and also hit RT, or no, actually it's right bumper, I think, then you do this massive team up attack. And if you're just doing it on rank and file enemies, it will just clear the screen. But where it's really effective, obviously, is in the boss fights. And the boss fights in this game are insane. They take up the whole screen. Sometimes all you can see are their feet. Like, you'll see the whole monster when you first start fighting, but during the battle, like, they're so big that you hardly ever see them. And it gets very strategic. Like, it is important to have different weapons in your party, to have a person with the bow, have someone with the sword, have somebody with the 2 knives. It matters for a composition as far as your team is concerned, to be able to get through some of the more difficult battles in the game. But I just found this game extremely fun. It is very rough. Like right now, you can buy it for $20 on Epic Game Store or Steam, but it's on Game Pass right now. So it's basically, if you're a subscriber, it's just free. It is janky still. Like, I had problems finishing games, basically. Like, the network would just time out, and then you'd have to like hard restart your Xbox to get it to work again. It is in early access on Xbox and Game Pass. It's not a finished, polished game, although you can buy it, but it has problems right now. It still has...
Chat says it's not on Steam. It's
not on Steam? So only Epic Game Store? Interesting. Okay. But you can buy it for $20 right now. And it's still busted. Like, they still have major network issues. But when this thing works, it's a blast, man. I got totally sucked into this game this week, and I found myself at night, instead of playing my usual Rocket League or Call of Duty, when I'm winding down, I was playing this. People are great. I also found, like, even though you're playing with 33 people, I found all the people I was playing with were awesome. They were all, like, trying to help. Like, when I was first figuring out the game, like, they were showing me how to do the team-up attacks. They'd walk up to me, and they'd hit their RT, and they were like, look, like, let me show you. Like, community was great, game is great, derivative and stolen from somebody else, but I can't deny that it's really fun to play. And in all honesty, Hades 2 is probably going to come out this year. It'll be a little weird playing it by myself again after going through and playing this extensively with other people. It is the rare case where I feel like playing this game, generally what would be a single-player game with other people, has improved it a great deal. But again, this game is early. You're going to fight through some bugs here and there. The game will crash here and there. And it does suck when you're on a long run and it crashes. Not because you lose anything. You don't. Actually, every monster that you kill, it registers as soon as you kill them. So it's not like you have to finish something and then it tallies everything up and you get it. You get all that stuff as it happens. The problem is you have to go back into the world and start the whole roguelike thing all over again, which is a pain in the ass. So I'll really recommend this game once they get that stuff sorted out. They get the networking stuff sorted, and they get the crash bugs worked out of it. And again, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, it's free. Just go download it and give it a go, and I think you'll be just like me, pleasantly surprised by how much you like this game and how addicted you become to it. And I hear you, Matt. There is a moral quandary, particularly for me, knowing Greg personally with this game. It is shameless. It is a straight-up ripoff, but it does find a unique twist on the idea that makes it play differently and feel differently. And honestly, I like playing this more than Hades.
I mean, I'm not enamored by Hades.
No.
Certainly not 2. It's fine, but it's kind of this. I already did it.
It is very similar, yeah.
I mean, but I also kind of feel like that about this. But also, this is going in the same category as Hades 2 for me. Call me when it's done.
Yeah. And I think Hades 2 is going to be done pretty soon, actually.
Yeah, it seems like that's going to be this year sometime. Maybe this won't be. I mean, I'm always interested in a take on Dante's Inferno, but
I'm a big fan as well, actually.
This feels like, okay, Hades. I mean, Hades is already taking inspiration from Dante's Inferno,
right?
And kind of going back to the source of the Greek mythology, and now you're sort of like, oh, okay, I guess.
One thing I haven't figured out about this game is you just saw there a minute ago where like these flames just start attacking the board. I don't know if that's God trying to attack you. I don't know. I haven't figured out what it is. It'll kill you though if you get hit by the fire. No, those are the spells from those enemies. Mm-hmm. A minute ago there was like flames pouring down onto the battlefield and like flying across the screen. I have not figured out what that is supposed to be yet. I think it's God trying to punish you. I don't know. But the ultimate goal of this... I mean,
you are in hell. Like, random fire might just be the name of the game.
Hell, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It is the Inferno.
But
you didn't pick Purgatorio.
No, you're right. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised by this game. And I've had a ton of fun with it. I've been playing it all week, and I'm going to keep playing it. I will say this. It'll be nice if they add another map. Because as of right now, really, there's the 3 different modes, but there's really just one map. So over time, obviously, there's opportunity for DLC.
Well, that is said,
that's the station, the upgrade station right there.
I saw 2 maps.
Did you see 2 maps?
There's Inferno and Purgatorio, and then
no, those are options.
What do they do?
So one is 33 players, one's 22 players, and the third one's 11 players. That's how many players play in the match.
So why is Paradiso less under development?
Well, they haven't finished the 11-player mode yet.
What's the difference?
Well, it's only 11 players. I'm assuming maybe the map is smaller, or they have to change direct objectives because there's not as many players. I don't know.
So Inferno and Purgatorio are the same map?
Yes, but just less players.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
they're literally different places.
I'm gonna jump.
Like it'd be cool if like you could play in Heaven, Hell, and Purgatory. Like that's a cool idea. But if it's just difficulty modes, that's weird.
Well, I don't know if it's even difficulty. It's just number of players. And maybe harder with less players. If they give you the same amount of enemies, then yeah, it'll be way freaking harder. And maybe that is the idea. Maybe that's what it is. That's how they gate the difficulty, maybe, is just by the number of players that you have to help you.
But it's weird that Paradiso would be underdeveloped. Like, why would it be take more time to make an easier thing with fewer players?
I don't know. I didn't read any patch notes or anything like this. I just played it. Like I said, I don't know what's going on when the fire starts overtaking the battlefield. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I didn't read anything about it. I knew about the game. I knew it was basically Hades with 33 players, and I was like, that's something I might want to check out. Maybe I'll give it a go. Then I saw it on Game Pass, and I was like, oh, I'll play a match and see what it's like. And I got sucked in. I ended up playing it for pretty much like 3 days at this point. So I've had a lot of fun with it. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, download it. Why not? I think it literally took like 2 minutes for me to download the client. It's a very small game as far as size is concerned. Very low risk, low commitment. And I think you'll find that you like it just as much as I do. Again, I was really impressed with the community in this game. I really, like, there was one time where I went into a torture chamber by myself, and I was just getting my ass kicked. And next thing I knew, zap, 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 here comes 4 people. They jump in with me, and we just wipe it out. Like, it's one of those types of games. Chips are down. Next thing you know, here's a bunch of dudes just teleporting in to help you. And games like this, the community, I feel like, are really important.
This? Those flame little orbs were flying around? Is that what you mean by the flyer?
No, like a big yellow circle.
Yeah, that's
drops
what
down?
that's what it was.
Yeah, then that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that did look like an area of effect from God.
Yeah, it sounds like something like that anyway. But I had a ton of fun with this. Again, no commitment, low commitment, whatever you want. This is one of the torture chambers here, and they're smaller areas. Like you're basically trapped in this little rectangle. And you're just overcome with enemies, and it's just 6 of you trying to fight off all the enemies and defending each other and protecting each other. It's a great team-based game. I was pleasantly surprised by pretty much every aspect of it, and disappointed that it was so similar to Hades at the same time, because you don't need this motif. You could do this with anything. This concept will work with myriad different settings and ideas. Why did you have to choose the one that is almost identical to what a lot of people considered the game of the year a few years ago?
Well, I don't have a problem with, like, Dante's Inferno isn't owned by anybody. Anyone can do that. My problem is that the art looks exactly like Hades. Do Dante's Inferno for this, sure, but like pick an art style that doesn't instantly make me think of this other game.
I mean, they could have easily picked some other theme. Like, they didn't have to pick this. Like, I don't know.
I mean, okay, but it's not. They don't. Hades is not Dante's Inferno.
No, I get that.
You can pick Dante's Inferno if you want. I just think...
But it's still the similar themes. Purgatory, heaven and hell, dealing with the devil and God. Like, you could have just chosen anything else. And they didn't. They decided... And I mean, maybe part of that is like, we want to confuse people and make them think it's Hades.
But again, there would be no confusion if it didn't look exactly like Hades.
Yeah, it doesn't
like, the issue is the art style, not the premise.
Yeah.
Like you can do whatever you want with Dante's Inferno, and it's probably going to be better when EA did with it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But like...
Remember that one?
Like, why does it have to look exactly like this other company's game?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to the point that I think you're right. I think they are trying to confuse you.
Yeah.
It does. It really does look like a bait and switch.
Yep, I agree. And ultimately, it plays very similarly, other than it being cooperative, massively cooperative. So
is that what it? Because what is the
PvE?
What is the arrow under the character? What is control? Because it almost, like, with the arrow under him, it almost feels like it's a twin stick shooter.
It's not. So,
what
and
does
I
the
wish
arrow
it were.
mean?
The arrow is the direction that you're aiming. So when you go to attack in this, you stop. Your character stops, and then you control with the left stick the direction that your attack's going to go, basically. But you're not like moving with the left stick, aiming with the right stick. That's not how it works. And that's why I said it's a little more thoughtful, because again, once you start to attack, you stop. You're a sitting duck. So you have to account for how far away is that enemy. Is he going to be able to get to me in time? Will his animation routine finish before I can move again? That's all the type of things that you're considering when you're playing this game. So again, the combat is a little different, even though it looks pretty much identical. There's a little bit of a different vibe to it, but yeah, I mean, it looks a hell of a lot like Hades, and it plays a hell of a lot like Hades. You're just playing it with 33 people. The other thing I would say, too, is it makes it easier. So in Hades, it's like, I was never great at it, I wasn't bad at it, but like, it got hard. In this, you can rely on other people to help you. And it makes a big difference. So, like, I didn't have, like, long runs where I just died at the end. And I'm like, damn it. Like, it seemed like if I had people with me, we could always accomplish it and finish it. As long as they were smart and they were playing and they were using the team-up attacks and all that kind of stuff. So, again, it is 33 Immortals. It is only available for PC and Xbox right now. I don't know if ultimately it'll be released for other platforms. I guess it would be.
It looks like there's no problem being on everything.
Yeah, I think Microsoft probably funded something along the way here to get it on Game Pass. It's a good Game Pass game, honestly. It's a good choice for Game Pass.
Yeah, especially because Nintendo seems to have Hades.
Right. Yeah. So, and Greg, big Nintendo fan, by the way, I would add.
But like the expectation is that Hades 2 is going to go 1.0 with the Switch
with
launch.
PC and Switch. Yeah.
With the Switch 2 launch.
Right.
Would be my guess when that's going to happen.
Yeah. Probably time with that, you're right. And I'm sure Greg would be very happy to get in at the Switch 2 launch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I like this game more than I like playing Hades, so take that for what it's worth. Retro Modern Gamer says, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. That's true to an extent. I think this steps over the line a little bit. It's pretty dirty.
The art style in this is a little... Unless they hired the same artist, like, it feels a little...
Dreylox asks, how's the music? Via Nightwing 3060. It's good. Eclectic, I guess, is the best way that I would put it. Vincent says Xbox is definitely promoting it. It should. Evil Oni says, this makes me want Smash TV with 33 players. Yeah. That is a twin stick shooter, though.
Right, well, because that's what made me think of that, was like,
the
arrow on the ground kind of makes it look like you aim that independently of the movement of the character.
No, once you stop, that arrow shows you, like, where it's going to go.
Isn't it kind of weird that, like, no one's tried to do that with Smash TV again? Like, no one's brought Smash TV back?
I love Smash
Doesn't
TV.
that seem like a really obvious...
Yes! I probably have spent more money on Smash TV in the arcade than any other game.
I didn't, because it was clearly a quarter eater.
Oh yeah, I got really good at it though. Like,
I have good. I didn't play it too much, but I certainly have good memories of it being in the same arcade as it, and constantly hearing the announcement. Like big money, big prizes.
Yeah,
I love it.
In a track mode, that's what it would say over and over and
yeah.
over again. Yeah. But unfortunately, it does not play like that. You look at it
in a weird way. It was a predecessor to NBA Jam.
A little bit.
I think that might be the same guy.
I think it is the same guy. Yeah, definitely the same guy. But anyway, I enjoyed the living crap out of this game. I'm still playing it. I probably will continue playing it. It'll be nice as they add more content. I think it'll give me a little kick in my step to keep me going. But again, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, it's a no-brainer. Download it, give it a go. If you don't like it, and you already heard me talk about it for 15 or 20 minutes, you're not going to hit the ground not running like I did, where I was trying to figure everything out. You're going to be able to hit the ground running and know exactly what you need to do, and you'll be able to figure out if you want to play it pretty quickly. So there you go. That's 33 Immortals. PC, Xbox, maybe eventually coming to other things, but most importantly right now, it is on Game Pass.
And you always knew you were in an arcade with Smash TV when you could just hear it in the background.
Yeah, that when you blow up the
boss.
Yeah, the boss. Yeah,
and like 4,000 arms would fly off the guy.
Right. Yeah, it's so gory too for the time. Yeah, I love Smash TV. It was one of my favorite arcade games. That and the other game I spent probably the most on was Punch-Out. Probably the other one I spent a lot of time on. I could get to Super Macho Man on 1/4 eventually on that game.
I think I spent a lot on like kind of a lot of the side scrollers I like, but I think in terms of the ones where you're supposed to throw quarters in to constantly keep playing with other people, Smash TV and Total Carnage, I think the ones that got the most of my money was probably Gauntlet and Rampage.
This game's a little bit like Gauntlet for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some Gauntlet to it.
Yeah, Yar Kung Fu got a lot of money out of my pocket too back in the day.
I don't remember that one, but I don't think we had that.
It was a fighting game.
I remember Yar Kung Fu from seeing pictures of it, but I don't think I ever saw it in an arcade until I started going to barcades now, more recently. I don't recall ever seeing a Yar Kung Fu machine back in the day.
Wow, I played it all the time. It was like a precursor to fighting games.
Yeah, Karate Champ, I remember because Yar Kung Fu would definitely have attracted my attention.
Yeah, and you fought like themed fighters. There was like Star, who had a ninja star. Then you had Nunchuka or whatever, who had nunchucks.
Oh, yeah.
And
I eventually played it in one of those collections, like on PlayStation 1 or something. I'm like, where was this? I didn't. But nice.
You could jump like.
Oh yeah, huge jumps.
Yeah.
It was that and Karate Champ go back and forth in terms of what was the first fighting game.
Yeah, I played more Yar Kung Fu than Karate Champ.
Sure, I probably would have too. Like Karate Champ is a much more grounded game, let's say.
Literally.
Yeah.
But anyway, there you go. That is 33 Immortals for PC and Xbox Series. Erebus Jones. Oh, Link's so good asking if we played Atomfall yet. Nope, that'll be in next week's show. Unfortunately, I did not get review code for that. Erebus Jones, Shane, where did the t-shirt as a German Shepherd? I didn't know you had a Shepherd. I grew up with a German Shepherd. I had a dog named Pfeiffer. And when I left to move with my mom, I literally cried for 2 days saying goodbye to that dog. And then I left, and 6 weeks later, it died. And I felt
How old was
so guilty. It wasn't old enough to die. Yeah, that's one of those regrets in my life. I'm just like, I feel like I killed Pfeiffer because I left. But no, I haven't played Atomfall yet. We'll get on that soon. That's also going to be on Game Pass if you guys are interested in checking it out on your own. This shirt I got from Loot Crate. Yeah. So if you remember, back when we first launched SIFTD, we had this huge thing with Loot Crate going on where we gave away Loot Crates like every month or whatever. And something happened where they sent 2 one time, and this was the shirt that was inside that crate. And so I gave one to you guys, and then I kept one for myself. Nexus 6 Baddie, I played Yar Kung Fu on Commodore 64 back in the day. I actually didn't know that there was a port to Commodore 64. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. All right, let's move along. Next up, we're going to talk about Indiana Jones. We teased this a little bit earlier today. It was announced this week, or just yesterday actually, that Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation 5 just 4 months after it was released exclusively for Xbox and on Game Pass. Just 4 months of exclusivity from a game made by Bethesda and Machine Games. Is that enough, Matt? If your strategy is to convince people to subscribe to Game Pass so that they can play games they can't play anywhere else, is 4 months enough time to convince people that it's worth subscribing to Game Pass, or are they just going to be like, you know what, I'll just wait 4 months and play it on my PS5?
Every single human being I know who's interested in this game who doesn't have an Xbox just said they're going to wait.
Yeah.
Like that.
What are they doing?
They're going to make way more money.
Yeah.
Selling huge numbers of copies on PlayStation. That's what they're doing. And because you want to strike now, like you want to hit fast, like
when people don't care about it anymore. Yeah,
people still care about it. You don't know where the Indiana Jones brand's gonna go. You know, Harrison Ford is pretty old. Like you don't want to.
What happens if he dies?
Yeah, you want to get it. Yeah, get in there. Get it done. it's a good, spring is a good time coming up on summer. People are gonna, be thinking about summer blockbusters, and everybody likes Indiana Jones in the summer. It's certainly a good time to punch Nazis.
Yeah, it's always a good time to punch Nazis, man. I'm an equal opportunity Nazi puncher right here.
But it's, I don't see an issue with it. Like, I already know, but,
it's good for the consumer. Yeah. But if you're Xbox and you're trying...
I don't care if you're Xbox,
well,
frankly.
I'm asking you the question, though. If you are Xbox, you say you're trying to grow Game Pass. Is this a smart way to grow Game Pass?
I don't know. I don't have the metrics they have.
Yeah. I'm just asking you, though. What do you think?
I don't have an opinion. I don't know why they're doing what they do. I don't really know why they've done anything they've done in the last 15 years at this point. I don't know. If they think this is the way to go with this, then okay.
I think, in my opinion, it's idiotic. It's dumb as shit. Like, why would anybody subscribe to Game Pass if they can play the game on their PlayStation 4 months later? Why would you get an Xbox or whatever you're going to need to play Game Pass, get Game Pass, and pay for it each month, when 4 months later you're just going to be able to get it on the console you already have? Well, nobody would.
Everyone I know who wanted to play this so badly still wouldn't buy an Xbox, and they were assuming it was going to be a year. Mm-hmm. No one's buying an Xbox. Like, the only people that, were really in the mix on this one were people who had a PC and, I guess, a PlayStation. But I guess if you had a PC and a PlayStation 5, and I guess you had the choice to either buy it on PC or subscribe to Game Pass on PC and play it that way, or wait for the PlayStation version. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to play it on PC. Mm-hmm. So
better experience, for sure.
So I think most of the people that are going to play this, just in terms of who has what and how many people have Xbox versus PlayStation versus a gaming PC, the largest audience is on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So why not get to it before? Because I guess this is probably the window where you're going to have the least competition. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be up against the summer blockbusters and people going on vacation. You don't want to sneak into fall because that's a game from last fall, and you might have to be up against GTA 6. I guess this is just where you put it. Because originally I was thinking it would probably be out in June.
Mm-hmm. But that's what we both said.
Yeah. And 2 months doesn't really make
because even to me, 6 months was on the line. I honestly feel 10, 12 months, if you really want people to subscribe to Game Pass because of the awesome games that you're making, I feel like they need to be exclusive at least 6 months, but probably closer to a year. Otherwise, I just don't see anybody buying an Xbox or any other device that you would need to play Game Pass when it's going to come so quickly.
Well, no one's buying devices for that.
Yeah, it feels like Microsoft has shifted gears from how can we get as many Game Pass subscribers as possible to how can we make as much money off the PlayStation audience. That's a big shift.
Yeah, but it also is a pretty reasonable shift.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It just feels like it's antithetical to everything Microsoft has been pushing towards for the last 6 years or whatever.
Right. Well, it's probably a big shock if you've been at Microsoft that long and you release Call of Duty on the PlayStation and you're like, oh,
we made a lot of money.
People who own PlayStations still buy video games.
Yeah, seriously. They don't on our platform. It does feel like Microsoft is trying to have its cake and eat it too. It feels like it's trying to push this new paradigm of how people consume and play games while still keeping its foot in the old way and never admitting, admitting that the old way works better.
I don't agree with that.
No?
I think it's just you don't have an option. If they could put Game Pass on PlayStation, they would, but they can't because Sony won't allow that yet. Probably ever, I would think.
We'll see.
Because Sony gets a cut of every disc sold, too. Don't forget. They own Blu-rays.
Yeah.
So, why would you want to cut that? It's not much, but it's something.
Well, you make 30% off every Microsoft sale then.
Right. Sony wants, Sony needs money. Believe you me. The whole fucking company's being founded by the PlayStation at this point. I don't think it really matters. I'm obviously going to play them on PC whenever I can and first. Yeah. And I didn't even I bought this. I didn't. I wanted. I want to support it.
You wanted to own it and support.
As soon as the reviews started coming out and they weren't terrible, I'm like, okay, I'll support that.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
I hear that.
So I did the same with Avowed. I don't know. He's just I don't autopilot to Game Pass. I will buy stuff that I think deserves to be bought. But I'm a weirdo in that regard.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think you're weird for doing that. You want to support people who are
right.
making
But
art.
Most people don't have the spare money to
be able to do it. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's certainly in the case of this game. I think maybe it's better to get it in the hands of as many people as you can. just because it's so good and it's going to be easy to overlook. And the Indiana Jones IP is kind of not
on the ropes
in the
a little
great
bit
place after the last 2 movies. And it's maybe a nice thing to remind people like, hey, this character can still be great. This character can still, can still do it.
I mean, to be fair, it's not like every first-party Xbox game has done this.
No.
This is a bit of an anomaly.
And you want the casual audience, the people who are, aren't even necessarily. I mean, the people that I know that want to play this game aren't even necessarily video game people.
They just
want to play Indiana
Jones. Yeah.
And like this being probably the best Indiana Jones product since 1989.
Yeah.
Like you probably want to hit that iron when it's hot.
I wonder if the license holders have not pushed this with Microsoft.
That's also possible.
Man, maybe even part of the deal from the beginning.
I could see Lucasfilm pushing for that, for just like, hey, can we please get this in front of as many people as we can?
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of waiting the year or something like that. Maybe they had a hand in it.
And believe you me, when you have a licensing deal with Lucasfilm, they are calling the shots.
Yep. That is for sure. Metro Modern Gamer says they gave up. Microsoft gave up on Game Pass. Do you think so?
I mean, I think you might have plateaued at this point. Like, what's left? Who? If you own an Xbox or a gaming PC, what's going to convince you at this point if you haven't already subscribed to Game Pass?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's left you can do, and Indiana Jones isn't going to do it.
I mean, people are pointing out to us, I don't know why, like we didn't know this, that you can play it for $15 on Game Pass. We've been saying that for 5 years. We get it. Yeah, it's cheaper. But to people, they don't care. They'd rather spend the $70 or $80 on the game and play it on their PlayStation than spend $15 and whatever else they need to spend to get on Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have an Xbox and you don't play on PC...
Yeah, or you don't have, Chrome sticks work with Game Pass now? But it's just streaming. It's just game streaming. You're not installing anything.
I don't even know what that is. It was like, no wonder I don't... you say streaming, no wonder I don't know what it is.
Right. Yeah.
I can't imagine that's a mass audience. Right?
Daring Swoosh, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Retro Modern Gamer says they gave up, and then Swan Senpai follows up and says, isn't €80 per game better than $15 a month on Game Pass? No, I don't. Well, I mean, it depends.
Depends how many games you play in a year.
It's not that simple with Game Pass. It's not like you just spend €15 and you get Game Pass. You have to have some device that can run Game Pass. Either you have a TV that has it built in, or you have a Chrome stick or a Fire Stick or whatever that they partnered with. I think Roku and Amazon they partner with so far. But again, that is the streaming version of Game Pass. That is not playing it off a hard drive, or it's just streaming it through the internet. And truth be told, casuals probably won't be able to tell the difference.
But also casuals don't even know that game streaming is a thing.
Right. And they don't even know what Game Pass is. No. They don't even ever heard of it. So I think...
Because they don't have an Xbox.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a case of a by-case basis, where this is something that they did for Indiana Jones. I don't think it's going to necessarily transfer over to all the other games that they're making.
Or maybe those Forza Horizon numbers were real good.
Right.
And they're like, hey, it's ready to go. Let's just put it out now.
Has Forza come out already?
I thought it did.
I don't think it has.
No?
No.
Pre-orders
I think that's
are
also
up. I mean,
April.
Pre-orders are up. This is around the same time as Forza. That's right.
Yeah.
But you might see pre-orders on that being real strong.
Yeah, I can't see Forza cannibalizing sales from Indiana Jones.
No, of course not.
So I think it's okay to release 2 of them in the same month.
But I'm just saying, like, if they saw what pre-orders looked like on that, and they're like, oh,
right.
This town is full of live ones. Now, to some of that, I would say it doesn't necessarily translate, because I would imagine one of the reasons Forza would be selling very well on a PlayStation because there's nothing else like it.
Which is insane.
Bonkers.
It really is bonkers.
Unless you want to count the crew, and then you're not allowed in my house.
It's crazy. It is crazy that the PlayStation has not developed an arcade racing game.
No.
They should just do a Gran Turismo spin-off. Gran Turismo Arcade or something. Like
Gran Turismo dumbass. Go. Come on. Anything.
Seriously. I don't know what PlayStation thinking. They're worried too much about games as a service. That's the friggin' problem. So anyway, that is the latest on the whole Game Pass games going to PlayStation. I do think this is an anomaly. I don't think this is something that's going to keep happening. I do think they might get to a point where, like, 6 months, though, is like the longest that they'll wait.
I think it depends. Like, I can't imagine they won't hang on to Elder Scrolls a little longer than that.
Maybe. I mean...
But who knows what their strategy will be years from now when that happens.
They did hold Starfield for a long time.
Yeah. And more you're kind of like, well, eventually. I would imagine they were hoping to put Starfield out in more of like a Game of the Year.
Probably.
With all the DLC kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really look like that might happen
No,
at
it
this
looks like it's going
point.
to come quicker than that, for sure.
And, I mean, I guess the good news is you're not really missing anything because that first DLC was not anything.
You'd also have to wait like 4 years probably before all the DLC comes out for that thing. It would take forever. A couple more questions we'll get to them here from you guys. Forza, they said Forza launches at the end of April 20th. Erebus says, if Xbox selling games on PS5 is helping keep Game Pass afloat for Xbox and PC gamers, then bring on... Yeah, you're right. That is, you're right. If selling games on PlayStation is supplementing Microsoft's revenue enough that it can keep maybe losing money on Game Pass, nobody really knows if they're making money or losing money on Game Pass, but if it keeps it afloat and it's good for us, then who cares? I honestly don't care at all. It's just interesting to discuss and try to figure out what Microsoft is trying to do. What is its strategy? What is it trying to accomplish? I'm confused on that now. For the last 5 years, I'm like, it's Game Pass. They want everyone to subscribe to Game Pass. Now it feels like they're hedging their bets a little bit. That's all we're saying. So,
at this point, trying to do that with Microsoft strategy feels like watching a snail and being like trying to guess where it's going to go next.
It's a good
and it's
point.
just like, I think we're all giving way too much credit to the snail at this point.
Yeah.
It does not know where it's going or why.
Swan Senpai says, I've seen people get Game Pass for a month for Call of Duty or Indie and then cancel. That's terrible business for Microsoft. I mean, they still got the $15.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, I guess. I mean, Game Pass is basically the equivalent of renting at this point.
It is. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
And it's not like you didn't spend that much at Blockbuster in a year.
Or in a month.
In a month, some people.
I mean, rent 2 games, that's $15 right there. I mean, that's actually, I can't believe I never thought about that, but you're right. It is kind of the new game rental. Game Pass is. Or it could be, if it's accessible enough.
I mean, to the point
eventually.
that I think that you couldn't run a service like it if game rental still was and I realize GameFly still exists technically.
Yeah.
But nobody knows that.
Yeah, nobody does know that. I saw somebody mention GameFly in chat last week, and I was like, what? Someone's talking about GameFly. I haven't heard that for a while.
I mean, I know someone who works there still. It still exists.
Yeah. It's still there.
They'll still send you a game disc. They'll still do it.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. Anyway, there you go. That's the latest on Game Pass, Indiana Jones. I think if you're a PlayStation owner, you got to be damn happy.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're getting the best of both worlds.
Those are 2 really great Xbox games about to hit you there.
And they're going to keep coming.
Yeah.
Like, again, if you're a PlayStation owner, why would you ever buy an Xbox?
I mean, I think maybe Microsoft has realized that, too.
Yeah. I think that's really the root of the problem, isn't it? Yep. Okay.
Well, it's not a problem if they found a way to make money off it.
Right. Yeah, it's true. A lot of money. I think Call of Duty probably was like the eye-opener for them. They're like, oh, wow. Okay. Like
oh, right. That's what that feels like.
I didn't sell games. Yep. Okay, let's move on. We actually are running out of time, so this is going to be a very short topic for us today. We're going to talk about rumors that are swirling about a new God of War. And I realized we just talked about God of War in this show. Was it last week or the week before? We were talking about they're supposed to be remastering the first 3 games.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this week, it came out from Jeff Grubb at Giant Bomb, who is like 100% reliable. I can't remember any...
Wasn't he correcting that belief on this? I thought he was saying, like, no, it's not a remaster of those 3.
He said...
He'd heard this originally, but it turned out to be this.
So he said that he has not heard a word about the trilogy
being
remasters.
remastered.
That all he has heard is that a brand new God of War game is coming before the end of 2025 that goes back and is set during the same Greek setting as the first 3 games. He said it's going to be some sort of a spin-off set in Greece, and it is coming before the end of the year. And again, Jeff Grubb at Giant Bomb is an extremely reliable source. I can't remember any news that he's broke that ended up being inaccurate. This could be the first, but who knows? But he has been reliable in the past, and that's why we're talking about it here on GameFace. What do you think is more likely? Because this is the 20th anniversary of the franchise. They put out this trailer this week that you're watching right now that goes through the whole history of the franchise. This was produced officially by PlayStation, the thing you're watching right now. So they're trying to celebrate the 20th anniversary. It makes sense that there should be something new coming out around the franchise. Yeah. What do you think is more likely, the 3 remasters or the new game?
I mean, if Jeff Grubb says it, then I think that's more likely.
The new game.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a remastered collection at some point, too. No reason both couldn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting direction to go. I wonder what's left to tell about the Greek era. I mean, I guess the story of how he got out of Greece. I don't know.
I don't understand. How would you even go back to that?
There was some suggestion that it might be about Atreus going back to find out his father's past.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And like kind of seeing flashbacks through that. Like
That might be cool.
the idea that it would be like actually like you like the Atreus, the modern current day stuff would be more like the existing God of War stuff, and then you'd have flashbacks, so you'd almost play redone levels from the original games as someone told him the story of his father.
So maybe that's why the wires could have got crossed.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, why some people have been saying the two different things.
Right.
Maybe they're both true.
Right. Just people got little parts of the story from different people.
Because you're playing as Atreus walking around and then it's like, oh, kid, let me tell you about the time your dad fought Poseidon.
I mean, you're right though. It could be as simple as like just sitting down in front of a fireplace and someone starts telling the stories.
Well, because you know what else problem that solves? Is you don't have to play the boring parts.
Right.
Like, it's just like, it's basically like a God of War greatest hits collection, and you could even do a couple more. Like, you could do do a couple where you're like, I mean, look, let's say, what if you go through all 5 of the Greek ones and just pick out like the 2 or 3 best scenes in all of them?
What a game that would be. Whole game. What a game that would be.
Maybe 1 or 2 new things.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't hear about the part where he went there and did this thing?
Yeah.
You've got basically complete freedom.
And like, and
during it, you could even have like Atreus and what's his name, the head, you know.
The Emir or whatever. Yeah.
You have them commentating while it's happening.
The head just sitting there on
oh my god,
on a coffee table. I mean, that sounds like it would be fun and an easy way to go back and look at the old games. Because if you think back to those old games, there are like long sections where it is just a slog of hack and slash.
The Hades Maze in 3 is one of the most terrible things ever.
And just cut it out.
Congrim points out that Kratos never did tell Atreus that he killed his wife and child.
That's true, actually.
Atreus doesn't know that.
Oh, that could be quite the twist.
Yeah, Atreus doesn't Atreus doesn't know why his dad is covered in ash.
And then that translates into the sequel to Ragnarok. Now he knows the true history, and maybe they're not allies anymore, and they're enemies.
It could be a big shift.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Regardless,
that way you celebrate this series, but you also move things forward a little bit.
Yeah,
and give us something to do while we're waiting for Santa Monica to make the next installment or something.
Regardless, a new God of War game in 2025. Can I get a hell yeah? I don't know too many people who aren't going to be excited about that. I would say, though...
Oh, no, it's a remaster of Ascension.
Oh, God, that would be the one thing. But I will say, if that's going to happen, we need to hear about this game pretty soon. So whatever Sony does around the E3 time frame...
Yeah, I would say that about almost anything they intend to release later this year.
Right, yeah, because at this point, nobody really knows. Yeah. So we'll see, but again, Jeff Grubb's pretty reliable. The sources who were reporting the remasters were also very reliable, though. So
that's why I'm kind of thinking, like, if you combine those two ideas,
the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Would be my guess. Yep.
Because I think it would be weird to me if they completely abandoned the modern characters, because most of the people playing and buying games now recognize God of War through them. Mm-hmm. So, and this way you could have some levels sections that look like modern God of War. Yeah. And like it wouldn't be like, why is everything so small? And
right.
Like, well, no, here's a shot of Atreus like walking through normally, like a snowy area. Look, it's like that thing you like.
Yeah. If you need better game ideas and you can't come up with your own, just hit up the Duck Consulting Agency.
Yeah, might be a little late for this if that wasn't the idea, but yeah, I'm just saying.
It's a great idea.
It's weird that no one's ever done that, huh? Like
Draylock says, forwarding this discussion to Santa Monica right now.
Like, it's weird that like no one's ever done like a clip show, right?
Yeah.
Like a video game clip show.
Yeah.
Like, how cool would it be if like there was like a game that was like where it's like Mario's birthday and everyone's just sitting around reminiscing about all the crazy shit Mario's done, and it's like a bunch of remasters of the best levels in the history of Mario.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Like, I'd be into that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would, absolutely. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest on God of War. Fingers crossed that no matter what the game is, we do actually get one this year. We'll see. And next up, it's time for... Well, that's right. It's time for the lightning round, where I go through all the topics that we couldn't fit into the show, and Matt and I discuss them for about a minute each. It's just basically...
Congrim, is it Congrim? Cinetyke is right. Tomb Raider Chronicles was kind of that.
It was, actually.
It was her greatest adventures.
Actually, you're right. It was, yeah. No fireplace, though.
No fireplace. There was no cozy. It wasn't cozy enough to be exactly what I'm thinking. Like you need a nice roaring fire and a dismembered head on the table.
Yeah.
That's the only way I accept my concept.
Retro Modern Gamer, I saw a news story going around that said Nintendo's going to have a Nintendo Direct this week to address what they are doing. That is not the Switch 2. Yeah, I saw that this morning, right before I left. I didn't get to curate it to SIFTD, though, before I had to leave. So anyway, it is time for the lightning round. Are you ready, Matt?
Sure.
Okay. First up. This week, Mojang announced it is completely overhauling Minecraft. Big story or not?
Every block will have Jack Black's face on it now. I probably big story if you care about Minecraft, but I don't, so I don't know.
Yeah, they completely have overhauled the visuals. You can see right here in the footage.
I mean, the thing about Minecraft is you can always go back and play the previous versions, and like every version is almost like its own game.
Yeah,
so it's not like you're losing anything.
And they made sure. I mean, they're very, very careful about that.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to scare any of their old customers off. They want to make sure that they can. And here's the thing: you can turn this visual upgrade on and off if you want to. And you can play with other people. They can have it turned on, and you can have it turned off. Like, everything Mojang does is to make sure that they do not lose any customers.
Oh, yeah. I saw a thing this week where it was a "Am I the asshole" thing. And it was like some mother who's like, to punish my kid, I deleted his Minecraft save that he's had since he was 7 years old.
Oh, my God.
He's 14. And she's like, he's really the way he's behaving is changed. Like I didn't expect him to behave the way he has. Like he's not talking. I'm like that is going to impact how he reacts to your death.
Yo, you should lock the door when you go to sleep at night, lady.
Half of his life, that's half his lifespan. He's been working on that.
Never sleep with an unlocked door for the rest of your life.
Don't do that.
Oh, that's
do
bad.
not do that. Like he's going to think of that every time he thinks of you.
Yep, that's insane. How could she think that wasn't going to impact him at all?
I don't.
She had to see him sitting there playing that damn game for the last 7 years.
There's, if there's one consistency of parents throughout all of history, it's that they do not understand why the things that are important to their kids are important to their kids.
That is true. That is absolutely true. So there is a graphical...
It's just a board with wheels on it, Shane. Why are you so involved
Exactly.
in it?
Yeah, you're right. Yep. So they've bumped up the graphics, which is a huge improvement, but there's a bunch of other stuff coming too. There's a new block on the way. They're going to start releasing new features more frequently, and they're going to be called game drops. So like 2 of those per year are going to happen now.
That looks pretty good.
I mean, it looks incredible what they've done to it. I mean, it really is amazing what they've done.
Yeah, like they're kind of bringing it up to parity with the way it's depicted in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure is intentional.
Yeah.
Which is a little more than Mario did.
Yeah, seriously. So the first drop is called Spring to Life. It's launching on March 25th. It comes with this graphic upgrade. But it has a bunch of other stuff, too. There's like a bunch of new things they're doing to the overworld. They're adding warm and cold variants of some of the mobs. There's new ambient features like glittering firefly bushes, falling leaves, whispers of sand. And then they also promoted the Minecraft movie, of course. Matt, I think the Minecraft movie is going to generate a lot of money.
Yeah, I would think so.
They are marketing the living hell out of that thing. I went to Century City Mall this weekend. There were billboards plastered all over the mall. I can't watch sports for more than 5 minutes without the Minecraft movie running 10 times. They are going to force this into success somehow. I mean, I hope ultimately the movie is not terrible.
Yes, apologies to everyone named Steve in advance.
Yeah.
You can buy a Jack Black action figure at the store right now. That is probably the most accurate depiction of Jack Black in plastic I have ever seen. I mean, I know he's dressed as Steve, but it really feels like you're just buying Jack Black.
Yeah.
Like, it's remarkable.
Yep. Okay, next up on the lightning round. Matt, you are prophetic. I don't even know if you've realized this or not, but
I saw that.
We talked about Painkiller last week, and literally right on cue, 2 days later, they announced a new Painkiller game. Mm-hmm. And I will say that I went
Some
back...
people listen to the Duh Consulting Agency and act quickly.
I will say this. I went back and checked out the Metacritic score for the first Painkiller after you said that people really liked it, and you're right. It's like an 8.0.
Yeah,
it definitely had a much higher Metacritic than I thought. But this game looks a hell of a lot like Doom.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I guarantee you this game exists because Doom.
And this is coming...
But then again, so did Painkiller.
Right. And this is coming before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So Doom's going to come out.
Out of nowhere.
And then 3 or 4 months later, Painkiller's going to come out. That's probably not a good idea for Painkiller.
I mean, it means similar. It is, again, it's almost the 33 Immortals version.
Yeah,
from
you're right.
Doom. It's like, oh, I'm a fallen angel killing hell. It's totally different.
Yeah.
It's like physics.
Yeah.
I'm curious what is going to define Painkiller in this iteration, because the reason Painkiller was a thing before was it had physics.
Right.
It was havoc. It was, you could pin things to the wall, and nobody else was doing that at the time.
Yeah.
It was sort of like how Soldier of Fortune made its name because it was violent in a way that nothing else was violent.
Yeah.
But in this one, I'm just sort of like, okay, what's differentiating this from, like, not to undermine my own point, but it's like, what's differentiating this from every other shooter right now?
Well, things have changed since the first Painkiller came out, so you have to do a little more than that in 2025.
Yeah. But I think you're right. If you'll show me that, I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I might just be like, what is that, Doom DLC already?
Right.
It looks a lot like Doom.
They might want to delay that game, and that game might end up getting delayed anyway.
Yeah, or at least see what Doom does. I mean, I imagine Doom's going to be a pretty big
It's going to
hit.
do quite fine, I think. Yeah, because it looks pretty awesome. So anyway, a new Painkiller's coming. It's coming to PC,
We'll
PS5.
see how long it takes to come to PS5.
Right. PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and they're saying before the end of 2025. We'll see.
Maybe that's the plan, because that will theoretically be on PS5 before Doom.
Actually, you're right. That's a market there. I wonder if Doom's going to come out for PlayStation 5 over the holiday.
That is an excellent question.
Because it's coming in May, right?
Yeah.
That gives you 6 or
6
7
months.
months.
Put it out in November, just in time to get swallowed by GTA 6.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing in the industry right now. Everybody's freaking out about GTA 6. They're like, what are we going to do? Like, announce the damn thing already. Yeah. Like, it's a little mean what's happening at Take-Two and Rockstar right now.
There's a big... I mean, I appreciate the defiance in some ways. It's sort of like
it's
like our copies of GTA 6 will blot out the sun, and all the other companies are like, then we shall game in the shade.
Yeah.
It's like,
seriously though, Take-Two needs to announce that pretty soon, I think. Next up in the lightning round.
I mean, if you were Take-Two, wouldn't you be enjoying that?
A little bit.
Just like watching everybody
grovel.
Yeah, we kind of like, we don't announce this until late July, and no one's gonna hit their Q2 targets at
Seriously.
all.
I mean, there's messed up stuff going on right now around GTA, so we'll see how that shakes out. Next up in the lightning round, as our awesome chat brought up earlier, Game Informer is coming back. Big deal or not, Matt?
Probably not. I
mean,
it's a big deal in the sense that it's cool that team got their jobs back.
Yeah.
It is owned by an NFT game developer, GameZilla.
Oh, so GameZilla bought it?
GameZilla seems to own them, but they are a separate LLC that is their own entity, so they theoretically are not going to have any editorial control over them.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same team that was there. Everybody who was in the team when they got shut down got all their jobs, but they're all back.
Wow. What about the guys that went and started their own thing? Are they back too?
I don't know what the deal is.
Okay.
I mean, from what I saw, and I didn't get to watch the whole video before we had to do the show, but what I read, the entire team is back.
Wow. That's great.
What entire team means, I don't know the details. And the physical magazine is coming back.
Really?
That's what
Are you
said.
kidding me?
That's what it said.
That's stupid. I think it's stupid.
I mean, yeah.
But it's just awesome.
The physical magazine existed as long as it did because it was tied to
subsidized.
the store.
Yeah.
It was like
GameStop was paying for it.
You had no choice. If you got that stupid membership to get money off used games, you got Game Informer whether you liked it or not.
It's just great to see a publication appearing instead of disappearing. Because how long has it been since we've seen something like that happen? Other than people starting a new thing after they lost their job when their old thing was dissolved. So I think it's just awesome to see Game Informer or any publication come back that was folded because this is bucking the trend.
Vincent says Doom is day and date on PS5. I don't know if I knew that.
I definitely did not know that at all. Really? Wow. That's crazy.
That does sound familiar now that he says
vaguely,
that.
but still, that's insane.
Yeah,
well, whatever. It is Doom.
You thought Indiana Jones was fast.
And you know why? Because they're following the cycle of if the games were released previously then they're going to keep getting released. Yeah, so that makes sense.
The real litmus test on that is obviously going to be Elder Scrolls. But
right. Yeah, that'll really push the envelope for sure.
I mean, presumably the Oblivion remake that is so heavily
that's
talked
about. Gonna be announced any day now, they keep saying?
I imagine that'll be on everything.
Yeah, probably. It should be, probably. Thank you, Vincent, for clarifying. I appreciate that. Next up in the lightning round. This week, Matt, Remedy showed off for the first time FBC Firebreak. Did you get to check it out?
A little bit.
What do you think?
I think it ain't my thing.
Really? I thought it might be.
No multiplayer, thank you. No interest.
I thought this one might be the exception to your rule.
There are no exceptions to my rule.
Because this game looks pretty freaking cool,
This
man.
game looks like chaotic nonsense.
Really?
It's all you. Go
I think
have
it's
fun.
I mean, look, we're always looking for new angles on shooters. I feel like they found one. And it's just making it a supernatural shooter mostly.
This just looks like another shooter that is set in the Remedy-verse.
Right. But the Remedy-verse provides so many opportunities because it's this...
But I just see... You're shooting zombies. I don't...
You don't... The Post-it notes aren't doing it for you?
I don't.
The Post-it note motif?
No.
Everything's covered in Post-it notes. Your guns shoot Post-it notes. Enemies are covered in Post-it notes. There's a boss at the end that is just comprised of Post-it notes. It's crazy. Who would have thought that what the enduring aesthetic that would come out of Control was Post-it notes?
I mean, it was very office-oriented.
Yeah. I mean, the Post-it notes were a big thing in the game. Like, you walk through those hallways that were covered with Post-it notes. But I think, look, as somebody who plays pretty much every shooter that comes down the pike, this looks crazy unique to me. And interesting and different, at least, which I can't say about most shooters these days.
This looks like online shooters infesting one of my favorite games, and it can go fuck itself, and I will wait for Control 2.
Okay, fair enough.
I wish they hadn't wasted their time on this.
I thought this might be one that might actually pique your interest, but I was wrong.
Not a chance in hell.
Okay.
It's like if they did a multiplayer shooter out of Street Fighter. And it's just like, oh, but you let me... No, this is not what I'm here for. I don't have any interest in this. Nope.
Okay, next up. This week, a Steam logo was spotted in Xbox materials. As far as, like, Xbox Series X materials, meaning... There's going to be, presumably, some sort of a tie-in between Xbox and Steam going forward. A lot of people have surmised that you're going to be able to access your Steam and Epic Game Store libraries on your Xbox.
Yeah, that is the rumor of the next big update.
Yeah, well, a big deal or not a big deal?
Not to me.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean,
it's not like you're going to play the games.
I only remember to open the Xbox app when I need to play something that's on the Xbox.
Yeah.
And it's like, Steam is the thing that's open all the time.
Yeah. People are freaking out about it because Microsoft has been so reluctant to work with Steam in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's like probably some key people aren't there anymore that are preventing that anymore.
Maybe.
Microsoft would be my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised you don't want to talk about Half-Life 3.
What Half-Life 3?
This morning, Gabe said that Half-Life 3 is in the final playtesting stages.
What? How did I miss that? Nobody reported it.
I saw it on Reset Era.
No one has reported that as fact.
There's some video thing.
Oh. And it was really Gabe?
I didn't see it.
Oh.
I saw the I mean, they didn't have a lot of time this morning.
I mean, I left at 11:15.
It was a leaker.
Nobody had reported on it. Nobody felt confident enough in it to report on it.
Ashes in the Hourglass says it's a leak.
From who? That matters a lot.
Yeah, who the leaker is, I didn't see.
Yeah. That's why it's not in the show.
Just a rumor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe next week we'll talk about it then. But yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's an era of finally making something 20 years too late, so Half-Life 3 would fit right in right now. We do have another Jurassic Park sequel coming this year.
Yeah.
So.
Here's what I would say: if anyone ever asked you, should you work with Steam? The answer is always yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
The answer should always be yes.
I mean, maybe not if you're Epic
at
this point.
Other than that, even Epic might do well to work with Steam at this point. Well, I don't know. But if you're a developer or a publisher or a platform holder and someone says, hey, should you work with Steam? That answer should be yes. Every time.
Steam, resistance is futile.
Yeah, seriously. And then our final story for the lightning round is this week Pokemon Lego was leaked out and then eventually announced officially once the leak went out. So which will be bigger, Matt? Nintendo Lego or Pokemon Lego?
This is going to entirely depend on what the minifigures look like.
Yeah?
Because, so I'll tell you a fun thing here. Obviously, the Pokemon license is separate from Nintendo's license. Mm-hmm. One of the issues with working with Nintendo is very specific about what the characters look like. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones who insisted on the weird giant minifigures for the Mario sets, which look, I think, terrible.
Yeah, they don't match.
And you'll notice that the Zelda set does not have that. Mm-hmm. The Zelda set minifigures are normal Lego minifigures.
Yeah.
So the question, now that finally, once Nintendo got their way with the Mario sets, it was everything else was going to follow. So the question becomes, what do the Pokemon look like? Are they going to be normal minifigures, or are they going to be that weird Mario shit? Mm-hmm. And until we know that, I don't know. If they look like normal Lego sets, I think they will sell better than the Mario sets.
How about on equal footing? Which do you think would sell better?
I really don't know. It depends what they're doing with Pokemon. Because the thing about Pokemon...
You have that endless array of collecting characters.
But that's the thing, is like Pokemon, there's a few places you could make, but the real appeal of Pokemon is all the hundreds, thousand monsters they've got. So how many of these things come with these sets?
I mean, if you get kids hooked on collecting the
the
Pokemon.
idea is you're going to want to get as many Pokemon out there as possible. So are the Pokemon being built out of the Lego, and they're not minifigures, and the minifigures would be like Ash and Misty and the other characters?
I think the Pokemon will be figures for sure.
But then what is the set? Is it just like a Pokemon Center?
I mean, it's just
or
a different,
arena,
probably
the stadium.
Yeah, probably, or the towns.
So how many minifigures come with these things? Because normally you're lucky if you get like 5 to 6.
My guess is you'll get 5 or 6, and you have to buy all the extras. You're collecting Pokemon again.
They don't generally sell minifigures separate.
I bet they do for this.
That would be very
or
different.
sell them in sets of 5, maybe.
That's the thing, is I guess you could do them in small boxes. That's the thing, is like you have to work within the framework of Lego distribution,
right.
and doing the individual bag minifigures. They did do sets of those yearly for a while. They were impossible to find, and they were blind bagged. And so trying to find the one, so people were like comparing like the UPC codes to like each one to know which one was in which bag.
Oh God!
Like that's the thing, is if you do it like that, you have just created the same nightmare you already have with those collectors that you've been kicking out of stores and shit with the.
No, you're right.
Like
fights in the aisles.
You have to make them available.
Yeah.
If you can make them available, if it's just something you can order from the website or walk into a store and get, I think Pokemon has way more potential than the way they've approached Mario.
I agree. Yeah, I think Pokemon will slay Nintendo's
because look,
Lego.
man, this should be right in up my alley, and
yeah.
I bought one Mario set, and I'm like, no. Like,
yeah, if you haven't bought them all,
they're not good.
Yeah,
because it's not like they're not recreating the sets in the setting. They're like they're like supposed to be weird video game obstacle courses you build and then move the characters to them, and it's just not what you want from Lego. I mean, I bought that NES set with the TV. That was cool.
Right. Yeah, that's
and
cool.
I'm kind of out of the Lego game at this point because they're very expensive and take up too much space. But
they're heavy.
The Zelda set was cool.
Yeah.
Where you could make the Deku Tree from either Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of Time. And I love that because it's just like they couldn't decide which audience for Zelda to appeal to, and they're like, both. Fuck it. Like, we don't know.
Yep. I agree with you. I think ultimately Lego Pokemon will sell way better.
They still have
having so many characters and so many games to choose from. Each one has its own town, so you can put out a town set for each.
No, they're never going to make the one that would make me buy again. So
yeah,
which would be Samus.
No,
you make Samus's ship. Or Brinstar or Ridley. Like I get Metroid Lego.
Yeah, I would too. But no one else would buy it.
I have a hard time believing that's in the top 5.
We'd be the only ones buying it. Yeah.
You know what I'm surprised they have. I mean, I get maybe the floodgates will open now because now that the biggies are in there, Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon. Seems like Splatoon Lego would be a hit, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels like that would translate
with the
pretty
kids.
well.
Not with the adults like us.
No, but I mean, Lego is for everybody.
No, you're right.
I mean, they are leaning hard.
I'm just saying that it feels like adults don't care about Splatoon as much.
Oh no,
as
but like the
do.
kids that pick stuff up on the shelf. I mean, there's two different worlds of Lego. There's the stuff the kids like and the stuff the adults like.
Yeah.
And Nintendo does cross those lines a fair amount. I'm very curious what the Pokemon stuff's going to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that Pokemon Stadium up crazy. Like, I mean, there are some big like the big like Avengers and Lord of the Rings sets come with like 30 minifigures, and that would be a good way to bring out all the major Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big ones you could build separately. Like
you could just go to Infinity because they're what 500-600 Pokemon at this point.
Oh, they're close to 1,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They could go on for forever. All right, we got to move on, and there's just one thing left to do, and y'all know what it is. That's right, Sifters. It's time for Name That Game Tune, where I play you 5 samples from a video game, and you try to guess the name of the video game before Matt Keil. This is all sponsored by Soundwizardry.com. We talked about them earlier in the show. No matter what kind of project you're working on, whether you're making a Game of the Year candidate and you're building an awesome video game, or whether you're just trying to help out schlups working on a podcast like us here at GameFace at SIFTD, Soundwizardry.com can help you with all that. They do specialize mostly in game audio. So if you're a publisher watching this, you're looking for an audio team to come in and work on your game. They have worked on several Game of the Year contenders and several Game of the Year winners.
And hey, Ubisoft, if you'd like to put a patch up on Shadows, call these people. Because I know everybody recorded their dialogue in different places all around the world, but you have to get someone to make them all sound like they're in the same room.
Yeah.
And right now there's a few scenes and shadows where they do not.
Yep.
And Soundwizardry can fix that for you.
Damn right. Go to soundwizardry.com. Glenn and crew, good people. We love working with them. You will love working with them too. Go to soundwizardry.com. A big thanks for them sponsoring this segment. I love doing this segment, and you guys love being a part of it. It's great. Thank you, soundwizardry.com. So, couple things before we get going.
There are 1,025 Pokemon.
Damn. Woo. That's insane.
I am not going to catch them all. I'm just going to tell you right now.
Not happening. Ever again. One and done with the catching them all.
151 was enough.
I did it the first time.
Yeah.
I never did it again. Never again did I catch them all.
No.
Just the one time. Yep. Anyway, a couple things before we get going. If you've won already this year, either you playing Name That Game Tune or Name That Game with screenshots, do not play. You can only win once per calendar year. Number 2, if you don't play PC games, please do not play, because the winner of this wins a real PC game that we will send to you guys. So if you're not going to play PC games, please don't take the prize from somebody who will. And then finally, the chat is set to slow mode. You can only input one message every 60 seconds. Make sure you make it count. Do not spam game titles. You will not win. I promise you that. Matt, are you ready to go? Let me get your headphones turned up here. I think I know where to put them now to get you to a good point. Mm-hmm. You ready? Are you guys ready to play Name That Game Tune? Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. It's a long one. I'm only playing it once. All right, let's see if you guys have any guesses. Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. That's a no. But someday, Ashes in the Hourglass. I did eventually bring in Body Harvest. Bloodborne, no. Control, no. Dead Space, no. Ghost of Tsushima, no. Any other guesses from that first one? And obviously, I try to make it really hard. Alien Isolation, no. That was 2 aliens, no. Eco, no. Mass Effect 3, no. That's a longer copy pasta than Body Harvest. Rochard, no. X-Files, no. Soul Reaver 1, no. Shadow of the Colossus, no. Metroid Prime, no. People think we're always like hinting at stuff, I think, throughout the show. But he doesn't even know what it is. You got to keep that in mind. He won't be hinting at all. He never knows. Dead Space, no. Any more guesses before we go to the second one? Going in 3. Blue Dragon, no. Somebody always guesses Blue Dragon. Is that Dave? Are you the one that always guesses Blue Dragon? That's another one that someday I will promise you we'll include, just so you can win. Okay, looks like you guys are good on that first one. Here's the second sample. In 3, 2, 1. I'll play that one twice.
Death Stranding.
Not Death Stranding. That's a good guess, though, based on that sample. Russ signed with the Giants. Oh, God, who cares? The Steelers are so screwed. Dante's Inferno, no. Gears of War, no. Thumper, no. That's a good guess, though. Climax 83. Devil May Cry, no. Metal Gear Rising, no. Any other guesses on that one? It's short. Assassin's Creed 2, no. MGS 5, no. Infamous, no. That's a good guess, Fried X100. I can definitely see why you guessed that. With his electrical powers. Detroit Become Human, nope. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, nope. Enemy Zero, nope.
Oh, wow.
That's quite a pull. Xenoblade Chronicles 1, that would be very clever of me, but no, it's not. Controller Zen. Any last guesses before we go to the third one? You don't like Rodgers signing with the Steelers? Hell no, I hate Aaron Rodgers. I don't want him anywhere near the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mass Effect 3, no. He's insane. He's just going to be one big distraction from the minute he gets there until the minute his ass leaves. Infamous Second Son, nope. 2 Infamous guesses. All right, going in 3, 2, 1. All right, he made it to the third one, and here it is in 3, 2, 1. I'll give it to you one more time. Watch Dogs, no. George Pickens is a distraction. You're right. They need to send him out too. Alien Isolation, no. Someone already guessed that. That's the third time someone's guessed that. Armored Core 6, no. Zone of the Enders, no. Horizon Zero Dawn, no. Metroid Prime 3, no. Transformers War for Cybertron, no. Shadow of Memories, no. Recore, no. Lego Skywalker Saga, no. Division 2, no. Transformers War for Cybertron, no.
It does kind of sound like a Bayformer.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely elicited a lot of guesses here. Metroid Dread, no. Halo something.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to answer that one. Crackdown 3, no. Ratchet and Clank, you do have to guess the particular entry, although I'm guessing you're saying the very first one, but no. Another Transformers guess, no. Ace Combat 7, no. Assassin's Creed 3, no. Horizon Forbidden West, no. We just did that one a couple weeks ago, Controllers In. Armored Core 6, no. That's another guess for Armored Core. Halo 5, no. I knew that sample was going to do it, because it's like generic video game sample 101, basically. Any more guesses on the third one before we go to the fourth one? Always remember the prior ones that we've played, too. Don't just focus on the one that you just heard. Remember the other ones. Doom Eternal, no. Oh, looks like we're going to make it to the fourth one. And this is going to give it away, so be ready.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready. Get your fingers on the keyboard for number 4, because I'm pretty confident it's going to give it away. Mass Effect, no. Mech Assault 2, no. Any last guesses before we go to the fourth one? Going once. Going twice. Okay, here's the fourth one. In 3, 2, 1.
Haven't been over to the Helios in a long while. Don't miss
How
the
quick
smoke,
can you
but
type?
It is a good place.
Okay, maybe it didn't give it away.
Too human?
Nope. No Man's Sky, no.
There's not that much talking in the entire game.
I thought that would give it away. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, no. We may make it to the fifth one.
Yeah, you also talked over the second half of it. So.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll play it again. I'll play it one more time then, and I'll shut up.
Haven't been over to the Helios in a long while. Don't miss the smoke, but it is a good place.
I don't recognize it.
Warframe, no. Borderlands pre-sequel, no. Starfield, no. Rage, no. Death Stranding, no. Vanquish, no. Fallout New Vegas, no. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, no. Wow. I think we're going to make it to the last one. Any last guesses on that fourth one? Flower, no.
Outer Worlds?
Outer Worlds, no. That's a good guess, though. Guardians of the Galaxy, no. Damn the once-a-year rule. Veritas, you know it, huh? I just gave Veritas a game like a day ago. He just won. Vanquish, no. No Man's Sky, no. Starfield, no. Fallout 3, no. Veritas knows what I'm saying, though. Like, if you know this game, that should have given it away. Any last guesses? Project Helios, no. Going once. Going twice. Okay, we made it to the last one. Hot damn. Here comes the last sample. No, not StarCraft. Not New Vegas. Someone guessed that already. Lineage 2, no. All right, here comes the last one. In 3, 2, 1. Days Gone, no. Returnal, no. I'll play that one more time, because this is the last clue. Mass Effect Andromeda, no. Helldivers 2, no. Destiny, no. You guys are getting warmer. Warhammer Space Marine 2, no. Borderlands 2, no. Evil West, no. Wow. Outer Worlds already guessed. Nope. Killing Floor 2, no. Titanfall, no. Concord, no. Titanfall 2, no. Metal Gear Rising already guessed. Killzone Shadowfall, no. Doom, no. Gears of War 3, no. No one's gonna get it. Destiny 2, no. Predator Hunting Grounds, no. Darksiders 3, no. New Vegas, that's like the 10th time somebody gets New Vegas. Apex Legends, no. Destiny 1, no. Deathloop, no. Pokemon Red, no. Halo Infinite, no. Borderlands 2, no. Congram, Shane wins, no. What happens if no one wins? No one wins. We just wait till next week. Gears of War Judgment, no. Warframe, no. Star Wars Outlaws, no. I'll give you 5 more seconds to guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Defiance, no. That's it. Nobody got it. It was Anthem. It was Anthem. BioWare's game, Anthem. No, all your guesses don't matter anymore. Someone's going to try to type it in now. Watch. Nope. You guys never got it. So the one vocal sample, he's talking about a very specific thing in Anthem. That's why I thought it would give it away. And
nobody remembers that.
Then the last one is just his the jump boosts over and over again, him jumping and flying. But people just don't remember the sound, I guess. No one played that. That's cheating. Actually, a lot of people did play.
Yeah, it sold very well. The problem was it didn't maintain.
Yeah. So it really was Concord Ashes in the Hourglass. I could have guessed for a week and never got it. I played through Anthem, but totally forgot about the Helios.
Yeah, I played Anthem a fair amount, but I didn't remember any of that.
Climax 83, the first time it's had... No, we've had many times where we got all the way through and nobody won.
But on the sound ones?
Maybe once, I think. Yeah, the screenshot's far more common to make it to the end without anybody winning. Well, that sucks. We want people to win. So I guess I made it a little bit too hard this time. But great job guessing. So many of your guesses were like right there. You guys just could not get over the hump, unfortunately. Cinetike says
I hope nobody who made Anthem is in the chat. Because
well, Cinetike says this is really telling about Anthem, I feel.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, people don't remember it. It's not memorable. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Like people are coming out with games that existed for like 5 minutes on an old 32-bit system off the first sample, but on Anthem, everyone's like,
yeah, yep. Well, all right. Well, that's going to do it for GameFace episode 426 right here on Sifted Games at sifted.net. We are supported 100% at patreon.com/sifted. For $4 a month, you get all our content early. You get this show 4 days early. You get Pachter Factor a week early. All our other content at least 3 days early. So there's a big incentive to subscribe with us at Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/sifted, SIFTD. We'd appreciate it if you could head over there. Our Patreon is doing horrible right now. We need all the help we can get. And I do understand that right now maybe a lot of people don't have money. And to be honest with you, it might be getting worse here soon. But a lot of you still do have subscriptions to Amazon Prime. And if you do have that, you can help us for free. For 2 clicks, you can give us $2. If you're watching on YouTube, just go down below and look at the description. You just watched us for 3 hours, bro. You can't spend 2 seconds to give us $2. Come on now. Even if you don't have Amazon Prime, you can help us in other ways. Just like the show, comment on the show, ring the bell, all that stuff that you do on YouTube, that all helps. Our YouTube views right now are also a little bit down, although it appears that way for everybody. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of even some pretty big YouTubers I watch complaining about. It's like, hey, the algorithm's not being very nice to us right now, so comment if you can't. Like even people that I never hear.
I saw some kind of funny view counts the other day that I was like, whoa, because I started poking around. I'm like our revenue is actually about the same, but the views are like way down. And so I started poking around, and like everybody's view counts right now are in like a free fall.
Well, I'm not even talking about gaming stuff.
Yeah, just whatever. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So we need your help. So like the show, share the show, all that stuff. It all makes a difference. Leave a comment on the show. It all matters. It all helps. We'd appreciate it very much. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Like, they started doing this thing where they try to insert the ads where they want them. I talked about this before. And if you go and look at the timeline, it's an ad every 10 seconds. And then if you go in and start deleting those ads and start putting in your own, it says pending review. Right. So I don't know if what's happening is they're reviewing the ones that you put in there, even though we've been doing it for years. And so you're not getting ad views when the show first launched? I don't know.
I'm also amazed by how the ads are so horribly targeted because they're never...
Oh, it's a joke.
...accurate to like what you're watching. They have nothing to do with the audience that would be watching the thing.
Twitter is even worse. It's like, I sometimes, like on Twitter, I will send a message to the advertiser and be like, just so you know, this ad was served to like a middle-aged white guy.
Right.
Like, you are getting ripped off right now by Twitter.
Sometimes when it's just like some random weirdo who like paid to have his tweet be an ad.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you people doing?
But that's the kind of ads I see on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we're at. Like, no real advertisers advertise there anymore.
I saw a thread that was about like things you never see advertised anymore that used to be advertised all the time, and one of the things that struck me was gum. You remember how much gum was
Juicy
advertised?
fruit
When we were
and all
Juicy fruit
that,
is gonna move you.
Fruit Stripe,
Big Red,
Spearmint, yeah,
a little
Wrigley
longer,
Spearmint gum,
and just endless gum ads. I'm like, so did just everybody decide and they never?
I haven't bought gum in years. I used to buy it all the time, but I don't anymore.
Also, I have to note that the Juicy Fruit commercial included the line, "Take a sniff, pull it out. The taste is going to move you when you pop it in your mouth." And I don't know how that got on network television. All right. It's like that. And how when we were in college in the 90s, how every other commercial all day was for like a collect call number. And it's like, has anyone ever done an explanation of the economics of that? How it was worth spending millions of dollars to advertise on national television all day, every day, to reach this audience of whoever is calling long distance and busting their balls to save like 5 cents on a fucking phone call? Like, how did that work? How was that working out? What was the scam on that? Who was money laundering shit through that? There was something going on there.
In Philly, my one buddy lived in an apartment right off Temple's campus, and no one had cell phones back then. And like his buzzer didn't work on his apartment, so there was a payphone, which you people don't even know what a payphone is; they don't exist anymore, outside his apartment. So what we would do is we get on the payphone, we call him, and they ask you for the name.
And you just say everything you could really fast. Yeah.
Come down and let me in.
Come down and let me open the door.
Funny. And then eventually...
Come pick me up out of the park.
Yeah. Eventually, my buddy got this little device where you held it up to the phone, and it played the sound of the money going through, and we got free calls for like ever.
Those.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, we got to go. We're way over time. Thanks to everybody for watching the show live. We're here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/SiftedGames. Come and hang out with us. It's fun. Be a part of our chat. Our crew here is awesome, if you haven't figured it out by now. Also, I don't know if there's any other podcast that integrates the audience like we do. I don't think they don't even acknowledge the audience in most podcasts.
I mean, we integrate, live streams do.
But I watch Kind of Funny stuff. Like, they take pre-written questions from their users.
Right, but are they doing live
But
streams?
they don't... Yeah, they do. They do Games Daily Live every day, or Kind of Funny Live Daily, or whatever every day. And they're not, like, interacting with the audience throughout the show. I don't know what they're thinking, because, to me, it makes the show better. So, thanks for showing up. We're here every Tuesday. Hopefully, you guys can see us every week. Have an awesome week full of awesome games. We'll see you next Tuesday. GameFace is up and out.